Let's watch.
Allegedly!
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. Here's a brief disclaimer for tonight's show. Let's watch.
That's ignorant! Allegedly, that's ignorant! Ignorant!
Judgment, Arthur.
Oi, you read my thoughts. You've got the shinning.
You mean shining?
Shh, you wanna get sued?
Judgment, Arthur.
You just use that shin of yours to call me and I'll come a-running. But don't be reading my mind between 4 and 5. That's Willie's time.
Hey, yo, boss. I love it when he does that.
Hi guys, how are you tonight? This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. Sorry about the little disclaimer. I want to put that in the front of the video. That way, if anything's said, it's all allegedly and in my opinion. So that was just like a quick, just something funny that I put together for you guys. It's not part of like a movie or anything like that because I think I had a comment about that earlier today. And then Forever Nikki's mom has been a member for a month now, so that is wonderful. Thank you so much. And she says, "We are Sebastian's army. We will not give up hope." Thank you so much, Forever Nikki's mom. That's amazing. And Lori's here. Nice to see you, Lori. Kaika, Trishy, nice to see you guys. Hey, Jude. Oh, look at everybody in here. That's wonderful, guys. Thanks so much. Thank you so much. I put some new custom emojis in the so if you remember, you get to use the custom emojis. I had a heck of a day trying to figure out this man card thing, but I think I kind of got it figured out. I put John Cena on one of them because he's the man, and then also Rambo. So feel free to use those. They're really funny, and thank you so much, Hey Jude. Thank you. Hey Jude gifted a membership, so thank you so much, Hey Jude. That's so nice of you. Autumn, good to see you. Good to see you, Autumn. Well, welcome in, everyone. I hope you all are having a great day. Kaika, his eyes 7. Yeah, it's so good to see all of you. And if you did receive that membership, please say thank you. And so tonight, guys, I think we're going to go back to the Coffin Duffer interview. And that's just going to be kind of going over what she was talking about. And then we can kind of go over her red flags, whatever she pointed out. Autumn, it's so good to see you. Yay, Autumn. So, yes, but I think it'll be a nice contrast to what we watched last night. So the last time Katie Proudfoot spoke was on May 23rd, 2024, and that was on Queen Bee. So if you all want to watch that, it was last night's live, and we just went over that. So tonight we're going to find out what Jen thinks are some red flags. She puts a little bit of theories in there. I didn't put her entire live in there, but I also have another piece that I put together a while back, just kind of a mashup of how Seth was being treated by the feet. I heard a lot on the Elevated Truth podcast about how Chris was trying so hard to work with Seth and Seth wasn't allowing it. And then I found this little piece that I put together. So I think it'll be interesting to watch it. But first, we'll get into the Coffin Duffer interview. So let's watch Miss Coffin Duffer.
And I just want to say that in these cases, and if you look back from the beginning to how this has evolved, always give the benefit of the doubt to the parents that are missing that child, to the parents that won't have that child there for Christmas. But this case has a lot to be said for itself. All right. Again, from the beginning, we're going to focus clean on Sebastian from this moment forward. I want to read this to you. Okay? Specific under details. A couple sentences. Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers was last seen on February 26th, 2024 in the area of Stafford Court in Henderson, Tennessee. He was wearing a black sweatshirt, black sweatpants, and black square framed glasses. Sebastian has medical conditions, including autism. Yes, he had another medical condition that he was diagnosed with, very early on, but he was recently also diagnosed with autism. So for some people like to say, oh, he didn't really have autism. Yes, he had autism, and he had another issue as well, but autism was apparently his main diagnosis that may impair his ability to return safely without assistance. Let's examine that, because I am taking the FBI, and that's why I talked about why I have so much confidence in the FBI. I'm taking the FBI at their word. This is something that has always bothered me. I know it's bothered a lot of people, and that is these words. So unless they're lying, and I'm a very literal person, and I'm taking this at their literal word, was last seen on February 26th, 2024. This doesn't say February 25th in the Texas Roadhouse video that we've all seen. It doesn't say that. It says the 26th, and it says in the area of Stafford Court. I find this very interesting verbiage. I always have. Again, I said we're going to start at the beginning. Things people may have forgotten, things people may think are out there because of things other people said, but that might not be accurate. We're going to just stick with the facts tonight. And believe me, there's enough facts that are at least pointing my needle for sure in one direction. Okay. All right. Now, I want to jump forward. So now we have the 26th. We know we have independent corroboration of life, at least in our public circle, on the 25th from that Roadhouse circle. We saw him there. I want to touch a little bit about this video. Sebastian Rogers ate like he hadn't eaten in days.
Okay, guys, there is no sound in that video, so I should have played some music in the background. But there's no sound in that video at all. We don't get to like hear any of the stuff that goes on in Texas Roadhouse. But I wanted you guys to see it because Jen was talking about how he was eating like he hadn't eaten in a while, or like he was really hungry. Um, I think now that we know a little bit more, I think it might be safe to say that it was because he was going to have a picture taken of him and sent to Chris to make sure that he had eaten all of his food. And so maybe he was trying to eat really fast because he didn't want to get in trouble. Um, and then also he was eating really fast, but then he also was like hunched over whenever he was eating like the rolls that they bring you, and he was just kind of like hunched over and eating. To me, he looked really tired, exhausted, I guess is a good word too. Thank you guys for asking about the sound though. Out next time I'll put some music in the background because I know it's kind of it's kind of weird. Sunny Days, nice to see you. Nice to see you. Welcome in. Welcome in, Star. Margaret, good to see you. His Eyes 7, good to see you. Reach for the Sky. Oh, great. Everyone's coming in. Kaika. Sly scanning the room. Yeah, I agree. She's a Sly Fox scanning the room, that's for sure. And then also at the end of the video, she kind of looks around back into the dining room area, not necessarily back to where they were sitting, but she kind of turns and looks and kind of all the way looks over into the dining room. So I don't know why she did that. I'm super suspicious, obviously, of this because of the steak and him not liking, excuse me, Sebastian not liking red meat. And so I just wanted to play that quick clip for you guys. Now, Jen does go into the recent autism diagnosis that Sebastian was diagnosed with autism recently. Then also, I believe Katie had said that he does have combined type ADHD. It was in Smiley's interview when they were talking about just kind of the different um, just kind of the different characteristics that Sebastian had and that was working with the autism. They also talked about that. And then we all know that he had the chromosome deletion from when he was a baby. And then also he had the pocket of fluid on his brain. So there was a lot of things going on. Good to see you, brown-eyed girl. Good to see you. Good to see you. And we got Lori. And Autumn says, I have a nephew that's 50 now that has always eaten like that. Yeah, some people do too. Some people like to eat really fast. I don't. I mean, I will eat fast if I have to. Sometimes you just have to eat really quick. But that was another thing that I found that was weird because typically when you go out, I mean, an hour is pretty good, but they didn't spend even that long in the restaurant, I didn't think. And again, um, Katie did not order an entree. She just ordered like French fries. So she had fries, and Sebastian had what looked to be maybe pasta because it was in a bowl. Someone else said salad, possibly, because those also come, the salad bowls are also like that too. But thank you, Margaret. But yeah, so I think there's just a lot of factors to kind of study in the picture. Um, thank you, Lori. And Star says, I agree. I think the food was part of the punishment. Like, you better eat your food or I'm going to tell Daddy Chris. Yeah, in my opinion. Absolutely, Star. So that was one thing I always wondered about, Sebastian. Basically, that was my biggest thing when I heard that. I thought, well, he's getting his picture taken, it's being sent over to Chris. So what would typically happen if that, you would get grounded, or in this case, we know how he disciplined Sebastian. So it's kind of nerve-wracking watching it because I don't know that it was necessarily that he was so hungry. However, we have heard different instances where they talk about him eating snacks and how he's got to hide snacks in his room. And then last night we talked about him shoveling the Nestle quick powder, and finishing the whole jar and things like that. And then saying that he had to finish all the cheese. So there's different things like that that are just really worrying me about the food punishment. Yeah, absolutely, Star. Somebody said owl. Margaret said she is looking for someone. Yeah, I mean, she definitely looked like she was looking for someone when she was looking back and forth. Like then whenever they were leaving, I thought that was really weird, and especially because that was slowed down a little bit. I do believe from the original footage that it was kind of slowed down a little bit, but either way, just it was a longer gaze into the dining room area, in my opinion. And Kaika says, "Who knew he knew he was going to get fed after that." Oh, okay. You don't know if he was going to be fed after that, right? Yeah. When he got home, that's why the fridge had a lock on it. Yeah. Okay. So I've heard about the lock on the refrigerator. Um, I don't know for a fact if that's true or not. I would not put it past them, Kaiko, because they are very much controlling, and they didn't want to let him have free reign to eat, which is really weird to me, especially because he's a growing boy, and then his mom, he should want to feed him, most definitely. And brown eyed girl, that's so sweet. And Margaret's got the owls, the hooters, and um, Hi Eyes Seven or his Eyes Seven says it was like he was receiving his last meal. Yeah, absolutely. Although Katie just kind of like shoves the menu at him, and they're just sitting there like they're not even really conversating. That was another thing that I found to be really odd, that they weren't conversating too much. But then after they had eaten, they were kind of sitting there talking a little bit, and Katie was like doing one of these like why or something like that, palms out in the air. And then she was also doing things like she was telling him something like you know what I mean? Like she's telling him. And it was just a really cold interaction, and almost like he was being told off in a way, like why, and then with her hands. I don't know what the conversation is. Obviously, there's no sound to the video. However, thank you, Lori, for the green hearts. And however, I think it's just really strange. And there's a lot to be said just even in that little clip. That was like a 2-minute clip only. Um, Sunny Days, good to see you. And Joe, hey Joe. Joe says, I wish they would put out the whole TRH video. Right. The whole Texas Roadhouse video would be so nice. From the time that they got there until the time that they left. I agree, because that way we can kind of see a lot more that went on. I mean, I know that they've kind of done it in parts, and I think they're the same, pretty much the same parts. And then the outside I have the 7-minute clip from outside, but it would be really nice to just see it in its entirety and then not edited, right? I would really like to see it not edited. Um, Kaika says he meant not who. Oh, I meant not who. Thank you, Kaika. I know, guys. I gotta get my glasses too, because like when it's all the way up here, it's so small, and I can't. I struggle. I'm struggling today. And Star says the fluid pocket on his brain is what makes me suspicious of KP not checking on a thud. Absolutely, that would make me even more, I guess, of a helicoptery if I knew that there was something like that. Because yeah, a thud. It's definitely strange. It's definitely strange. Um, and I have the in the video too. It kind of um, goes over a little bit of that too, is with in terms of what Jen Coffin Duffer thinks about it. So I mean, and I don't know why she added those parts into it either. But Jen has her own theory on it, and I mean, I can definitely relate to it. And Lori says exactly, Star. And Hey Jude says Katie said he had salmon. Yeah, well, that was another weird thing because he had a similar dinner in the other well, and also Seth said that too, I think, if I can remember correctly. But he had a similar dinner in the other Texas Roadhouse photo. Somebody says that was from a different restaurant, but it looks like the same, like the wall that you can see on this overlay in the back or the background, it had the same wall. So it looked very similar to me. I can't tell 100% if it is or it isn't, but it looks very similar to me. And Reach for the Sky says, hey chat, what does it mean when there is a red line in front of your name in a live chat? Oh, a red line in front of your name. Oh, I don't know. I don't know what that means. I've never seen that before, Reach for the Sky. Hey Jude might know though. She's good at that. And Forever Nikki's mom says, Joe, welcome. And yes, I agree. I would like to see it if, in its entirety. Yeah, and just kind of not slowed down or anything. What did Nancy say on the one show, or well, when she interviewed the feet? She said, I want the whole thing. I want it raw and wriggling. So, or something like that. Um, Yeah, in this chat, like that's what I was wondering. Thank you, Hey Jude. I don't know. See, oh, Forever Nikki's mom. Thank you so much for gifting a membership. And if you got the membership, please tell Forever Nikki's mom thank you. That was so sweet. Hey Jude says, reach for the sky. Usually that's when chat is in slow mode. Okay, I mean we don't have a whole lot of people. See, I've never seen that before. No, but I've seen that before elsewhere. Oh, okay. Oh, good. I'm glad you. Okay, good. I'm glad you're not experiencing that now. Oh, that's funny. Oh, Sunny Days got it then. Fantastic. Yes. That's so wonderful. Wonderful. Yep, you look very good in green there, Sunny Days. And Brown Eyed Girl says, in my opinion, if I needed a waitress, I would get the first one around, and she wasn't eating enough to need anything at the moment. I can think of, I can think of that as a sus look. Definitely, definitely. I mean, she was kind of like eyeballing like really slowly. I know the video slowed down a little bit, but still. I agree. Or you kind of like raise your hand. Oops. You kind of like raise your hand, or and typically servers will, because I've been a server before. We look at our tables. You look to see if anybody needs anything, if they need drinks or anything, their plate taken or whatever it is. And so most of the time you would even make like eye contact with the server and they just come over and, are you guys doing okay? Blah, blah, blah. So yeah, absolutely. Aw. Oh gosh, no, reach for the sky. You're not doing nothing wrong. Kaika says Sebastian looked malnourished. Malnourished. I can't speak today. Okay, Sebastian looked malnourished and underweight for his age. He may be 6 foot tall or taller now. Yeah, so if he was having growth spurts like Katie says he could be much taller by now. I agree. However, when he was 5'5" when he left, or when he was reported missing. I don't think he left. He was 5'5", and so in in that regard, I don't know how much taller he's going to get unless someone on Katie's or Seth's side of the family is very tall. Sometimes kids are get really, really tall though. You never know. But yeah, he can definitely be taller. I don't think that he looked healthy in the way of him. I don't think that he looked very healthy. I really don't. And the reason why I'm going to say that is because he was extremely thin, and then a lot of times in the pictures you can see his face looked really gaunt, and usually that's a high indication of that. So I agree, Kaika. He did look malnourished for sure. And ah, that's so sweet. You guys are so sweet. And Star says, I was sad to see she wouldn't even let him look at the digital menu. So much fun. Yeah, so much for a fun day, I guess. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So that was another thing that I noticed too. With the digital menu, a lot of times there's games and stuff on there, and she didn't really even allow him to play the game. He asked her, he pointed at it, and that was in a different, another clip. I shortened this one. But in the beginning of that video, when they first sit down, she doesn't let him play with it, and she just passes him a menu. And it's very cold, in my opinion. So, but oh, Gracie, good to see you, Gracie. Oh no, you're fine. You didn't know it was live. Oh my goodness. I don't know why YouTube does that. Like a lot of times it won't give me the notifications. I wanted to go over to a channel today, and I made sure I like pushed all the notifications for the premiere so that way I'd get over there. Because I didn't know if there was like a live chat, but I commented. Lori. Aw, you guys are so cute. Hello, beautiful people. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead. Hey, Hope in the Shadows. Good to see you, Gypsy. Good to see you. Thank you for dropping Gracie's link. Thank you. Hey, Jude. You're awesome. Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and play this next one. And, Margaret. And then we'll discuss. Let's see, 3. Oh, not that one.
I'm not saying he hasn't eaten in days. I'm saying, why was that? One of the reasons could have been because he was off his medication. We know that Sebastian Rogers was medicated for his medical condition and that the medication he took suppressed his appetite. So one of the thought processes is that he was not on his medication. And that's why we saw him eat in, like I said, what I noticed didn't seem the normal manner of how most people eat. Most 15-year-olds eat even, unless they're starving. And then that's the other possibility, right? We know for a fact that Sebastian Rogers was punished. They did not like him, meaning Chris and Katie Proudfoot, who Sebastian Rogers lived with. Katie Proudfoot was his mother. Chris Proudfoot was his stepfather. We know for a fact, because I just got done listening to them talk about this, they did not appreciate the fact that Sebastian Rogers would get up in the middle of the night and eat, take snacks, take treats. Now, Sebastian Rogers was not fat. He wasn't overweight. He wasn't at all on that side. I personally think he was very thin. His weight ratio to his height tells us he was thin. When you look at pictures of him, you can tell he's thin. The kid was thin. Now, the Proudfoots say they didn't let him, they didn't want him in the kitchen because he would get up in the middle of the night and he would eat snacks that weren't healthy for him, sweets. And then he'd take them back to his room and hide it. I'm going to talk about several what I'll call red flags here. I'm calling this a red flag. For anyone to think this is just normal behavior of a 15-year-old, I don't believe that to be true. I believe it's normal behavior for a hungry 15-year-old. If you don't want them to have snacks, then have in your cupboard popcorn, granola bar if you think that's healthy, fruit, cheese, salami, meats. Have the things that you think are healthy for him, but do not deny a 15-year-old growing boy the opportunity to eat when they are hungry. Do you see the oxymoron here? He is on medication that is suppressing his appetite, and yet his appetite wakes him up in the middle of the night to go eat, to get up and get snacks, and he's scrawny. I'm calling him very thin. That's my view. This is my opinion. You can differ with it. I feel very confident in those words, and I feel confident that that kid was hungry. I have never seen Sebastian Rogers eat, but this one time, Seth has seen him eat. Seth said this was unusual. It's his father. Seth raised him as a young boy. I'm going to leave it at that, but I'm hoisting up one flag that I believe to be an indication of things yet to come.
Okay, guys. So again, sorry, I think that, there we go. Again, it's a pattern we're seeing of another person coming out and saying that Sebastian is awfully thin. They're saying that he may or may not have been on his medication. I still think that that is a little bit fishy. We could never get a straight answer out of anybody. Chris Proudfoot blamed it on HIPAA, which I'm here to tell you, HIPAA doesn't have any bearing on the general public. It's only for people who work in the medical field. So that was all BS. Just wanted to say hi to everybody that was coming in. Holly S., Deanna, and Brown, thank you for being a member of Lady Freedoms for 1 month, and I love you too. And also Lady Tit for Tat, good to see you. Welcome in. So yeah, we're kind of seeing that pattern. And then also in the interviews, it was another pattern that we were seeing with the food. Him waking up in the middle of the night. Well, he's a growing boy. If he's hungry, he's hungry. And Jen was talking about giving him healthier options, which would be better than, and I understand that kids sometimes they want to choose unhealthy options. I get that. But from the way that it sounded last night in the QB interview, Katie said that he liked to eat fruits and vegetables and that he was really fond of fruits and vegetables. Fish is super healthy. So I just find it to be odd all around. And Kaika says 15 to 16 is the biggest growth spurt age in boys. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're growing. They're growing. They're growing. And oh, thank you, Star. That's so sweet of you to gift a membership. Thank you. If you got a membership, make sure to say thank you to Star. And so yeah, I mean, they're growing, and it would be normal for him, especially during growth spurts, to want to eat more, because he's a growing boy. I agree. And then Jen's opinion of Sebastian is that he is very thin. Obviously, she said that Seth even said that the way that Sebastian was eating that day wasn't like a normal eating, how he normally eats, I guess I should say. So in that regard, I think that he would be a good indication, or he would be the best person to tell us that, right? Just that's his dad. He sees him out. If it alarmed Seth, which it seems like it did, it may or may not have, but if it did alarm him, then that would be a huge red flag. And Lady Tit for Tat says, I think he was just a thin kid. That's absolutely open to interpretation. I don't think that's the case. I think that he was in a situation where he was being denied food. I think that he had maybe a higher metabolism. I don't think Sebastian is going to be a very big kid. However, I always find it really strange that the parents that are withholding food from the children aren't in the best shape themselves. And then I also think that if a child is hungry, it doesn't matter what time of day it is. You get them some food, especially if you're their mom. And Hope in the Shadows says, "Hello, Lady Freedom. Thank you, Gypsy, for being here." Yeah, Holly S says that she thinks he looked thin and pale. Yeah, I think he just looked, gosh, exhausted. Like just the way he was hunched over, eating, he wasn't sitting up straight. He was hunched over eating. And then he was like shoveling the food in his mouth so fast. I think he was going to be in big trouble if he didn't eat his plate. Um, And to me, that is also a form of ABUSE, because when you do that to a child, you can cause, especially in female children, you can cause eating disorders and things like that. You can cause negative body image and results from that. And so, although that is not the most important thing in the world, it is something that helps you build your confidence. And I don't agree with ever withholding food or any of the little kind of games that they were playing. Make him eat every bit of the cheese, even if he, that kind of stuff. Eating your entire plate and stuff like that causes eating disorders, in my opinion. um, Margaret says you were awesome, brown eyed girl. Thank you for 1 month. Aw, Margaret, you're so sweet. Aw, you guys are so awesome. Good to see you, Susan. Susan says it's cold. Hello, everyone. It's cold. It is really cold here in Florida too. It is like for Florida, it's cold, I think. But oh, thank you, Lady Tit for Tat. That's nice of you. And Margaret says, "Brown eyed girl, you are great, girl. Love you. Thank you for gifting." Aw. Hey, Pickle Me Elmo. Good to see you. Good to see all you lot lizards in here. My favorite pickle. That's cute. Hey, Jude. Oh, thank you. Hey, Jude. Make sure you go check out Gracie's channel, guys. Jude does rock. Reach for the sky. You guys are amazing. Hey, couponing. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hey, Lisa Ann. Nice to see you. Welcome in. And I'm going to go ahead and play our next clip, guys, because I don't have a whole lot to say on Jen's stuff because I do agree with her. Thank you for posting Jen's link, too. Hey, Jude is amazing. And hey, Julie. Want to make sure I say hi to you, all you guys, before I go back. And I don't want to miss a comment. Okay, Star says, so one thing I have heard from military personnel is that they learn to eat fast. With 2 former military people enforcing the house rules, I wonder if he was expected to eat quickly. That is a very good observation, Star. I mean, that could be possible. I mean, and Seth wouldn't know that that would be something that Seth wouldn't really know if it's something that he does at their house only. So that's a good point. I could definitely see how that would be a possibility. And some people like to eat fast. I mean, I understand that. I'm usually one of the last people done most of the time, especially if I'm like doing something else and then I'm just eating and not paying attention like to what I'm doing. But I don't know. I don't like eating too fast. You can get indigestion and your stomach hurts and stuff. Like, oh, I just said hi to Julie because somebody else said hi. I didn't want to miss anybody. Gracie, I don't know who's HIPAA. Yeah, Holly, that was one thing that was just crazy to me, with the HIPAA thing, because most of us, a lot of people, and a lot of nurses follow true crime. So it was kind of funny whenever he was like, "Oh, HIPAA, it is a HIPAA violation, blah, blah, blah." It's like, no, it's not a HIPAA violation. And, you might not want to disclose all of your medications because it's kind of a privacy issue. But also, like, the general public is not held to HIPAA. Um, my HIPAA hurts, Joseph. He makes my hip hurt too. Grace says slow eating is better for digestion. I had to learn to eat slower after the military. Okay, there you go, Grace. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, they have a limited time period, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know exactly how long each of them has been out of the military. Um and another thing to consider too, and I hate to consider the worst, but Katie only got French fries, so who knows if she was like trying to be like, hurry up, eat your food so we can go. Like, I'm sorry, but that whole interaction was so chilly. Well, it was beyond chilly. It was cold as ice, and I don't know. Every time I watch that video, it almost makes me just really worried about Sebastian's welfare and his well-being, and I don't know, it's just something that I can't shake off. I hope that it's not a correct feeling, but it makes me feel icky. Like, is the best way to describe it, I guess. Like something really bad could have happened to him, just based on that short interaction. And Hey Jude says he likes steamed tofu and Brussels sprouts. Yeah, I love Brussels sprouts. I love Brussels sprouts. And I know a lot of people would say in the beginning, like, oh, he likes this, gross. He likes tofu. A lot of people like tofu. And like Brussels sprouts is kind of an acquired taste sometimes, but I don't know if you put the right stuff on them. Holly says in the B-Day party video, his upper arm was tiny. Yeah, absolutely. Holly S. Like a lot of the pictures that you'll see him, just even the one from the missing photo, when you look at his shoulders, they're just very bony, I guess. And like that doesn't, I'm not trying to body shame anybody, especially not Sebastian. So don't get me wrong. But the fact of the matter is that he just kind of looked like very thin and thinner than a usual 15 or 16-year-old kid, especially when he's doing a growth spurt. And also I look at genetics when I think about things like that, because if you look at Seth, he's not a small guy, right? And neither is Katie. So if you look at the parents, now Katie was very thin when she was young. Aren't we all? But either way, I think he was not getting the proper nourishment, in my opinion. Kaika says they ran him down for eating healthy food because Chris and Katie ate crap. As we can see looking at them. Yeah, I mean, and that's what kills me, is that when they're not feeding these kids properly, and then they're like obviously feeding themselves. I mean, that's what kills me. I don't like to body shame. I'm not trying to either, guys, I promise. But Lisa Ann says he was too skinny. Yeah, I feel like he was. They're plump. Pleasantly plump. Fat and sassy. No, I'm just kidding. Pickle Me almost says that she agrees. And mom was limiting his habit, or mom was limiting his eating habits. Yeah, I think so too. Reach for the sky. I just feel like it was one of those things where they were expecting way too much out of him in any kind of situation, even with food, even down to the very basics, like you need to eat all of it or nothing, kind of a thing. Like, it's kind of scary to think about, because in many cases of ABUSE, there's food punishments involved. There's starvation involved. There is, I mean, you can almost even say that it's not good to let your children overeat as well. But as Jen said, and I really agree with this, then you put healthier options in the home. The kids can't go out and buy their own food. So it's up to the adults to give them the proper foods to choose from. And that's all we have, right? I mean, it's just something where if you want to have control, then there's ways to go about it where you can do it in a good way, instead of being an asshat about it. Hi, Stacy. Nice to see you. Stacy says, seems that KP didn't cook. That they were always out to eat, in my opinion. Yeah, what's weird too is that Katie went to culinary school, and apparently she was a really good cook, because she was able to land a job as a chef. So, she was a good cook. I mean, she was a chef, actually, not even a cook. So, and Forever Nikki's mom says, I believe it was a form of punishment to withhold food. I know, and it's so sad. Like, I hate to think of it that way, but every time I hear these things, and then also like bringing him out to eat, I think it's mean. If you were like really wanting a steak or something like that, and you want to go out for steak and stuff, I get it. But like, I think it's kind of mean to take him to a steakhouse when he doesn't like red meat, and then turn around and you just eat French fries. Like, that doesn't make any sense at all, at all, at all. So yeah, it is awful, Holly. Hope in the Shadow says he looked very sad and depressed, in my opinion. Yeah, I think so too, how he was hunched over too. I mean, that could definitely be a sign of depression or sadness. Not sitting up straight and confident, right? He was kind of more like, hunched over, and I felt really sorry for him too. Um, Yeah, Susan Ennis says, mental ABUSE. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that, like we were talking about, when it came to Crystal's story, sometimes those things can be worse because it's that voice inside your head that's telling you you're not good enough. Whatever it's telling you, and it's usually coming from somebody that put those ideas into your head instead of you, feeling that way about yourself, and then you get a negative self-image. So absolutely, Susan. And Holly says, in my opinion, he was ABUSE'd, uh, just like in the other true crime cases. Yeah, I mean, we see it all the time, right, Holly? It's very, very prevalent when we see in these cases, and it's a pattern. It's a pattern that we see. And unfortunately, it's really something that we should keep an eye on. I don't agree with calling DFS if someone's kid is thin. Don't get me wrong, but if we see these things, and the child is malnourished, like Kaika said, or when it's to the point of they're too thin for their age group, and they're not in the correct percentile, like weight wise and things like that, I think it's something to look into. And as we know, in this case, there's been 5 CPS reports. One was still open at the time of his disappearance. So in that way, was there any type of food withholding, ABUSC? Was it being used as a weapon? And is that in any of these 5 reports? It very well could be. Um, it very well could be. Hope in the Shadow says food should never be used as a punishment. Absolutely. And if someone's hungry, let them eat. It's terrible when the parents have the means and they're still not giving the children the food, in my opinion. And Hey Jude says, to be fair, Seth said he has an issue with iron metabolism. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too. I think that he was probably not going to be a real big kid, right? In the same way, I do feel like there was way too much of this food business to count. Like, even in older interviews, they talk about it as if he's sneaking snacks, and then Chris backtracks and he'll say, well, it's just like any other kid. But really, if you guys are bringing it up that much, then it must bother you. And that's really where I kind of get hung up on it too, and then wonder, is that the reason why he's so thin? And then also making him eat. I mean, I hope it wasn't let me just preface it. I hope that it wasn't a factor that they were force feeding him either, making him eat until he was sick, because that is also equally abusive and gross. So there's that too. These thoughts cross my mind. They really do. And Forever Nikki's mom says, yes, Hope in the Shadows, I can see his sadness in him also, in my opinion. Yeah, I can see it too, especially that one photo is, like, really, really telling, his school photo. Reach Reach for the Sky says, "Or she was rushing him to eat." Yeah, I think it was, I think it was definitely that she was rushing him to eat. I think that it was, "Hurry up, I only had my" basically, I have my french fries. I don't want to sit here any longer. Hurry up. It's always about Chris and Katie. It's never about Sebastian. So I can't believe in this circumstance it would be any different, I guess is the best way that I can word that. And Brown Eyed Girl says, "Who in their right mind would put a camera in the fridge?" I know that is really strange. The only person that I can think that would do that is somebody who is ABUSE. They like to do that. They are they're all about the power and control. And so that's the only person I can think that would do that, Brown. Like, you know. And Lisa Ann says that's why they found so many wrappers and food snacks under his bed at the search forum by LE. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that they did find a lot of things. What I found to be really interesting too, Lisa, is that um, whenever they went to Seth's house, they had mentioned that his room was in very good order. It was clean, it was neat, tidy. And then when they went over and Seth went to see his room, he said the rest of the house was neat and tidy, but Sebastian's room was not. And so it's just a night and day difference. But that's a good point. Candy wrappers, food wrappers, snacks. Either way, when you're hungry, you're going to eat whatever you can get a hold of. And that's what really makes me sad. Couponing says, "Yes, Grace, I learned to slow down while eating and to savor the taste of food." Yeah, absolutely. And if you get a chance to, I mean, trust me, there's been times where, I mean, I'm just like running around all day and stuff like that. And I just hurry up and make a quick sandwich, eat it as fast as I can, and then I'm like sitting there like, oh gosh, I shouldn't have ate like that. Like I shouldn't have ate it so fast. So yeah, I don't think doing that. I just, to me, it's just all going back to this power and control they want to have. Eat faster. I'm going to take a picture of you. I'm sending it to your stepdad, blah, blah, blah. Like, who is he? I mean, I don't know. Oh, you guys are expecting an ice storm? Well, I hope you guys all stay safe. My daughter is also dealing with the ice storm. And I hope she doesn't have to do a lot of driving in it. Yeah, Forever Nikki's mom says, "Right, Brown, who does that?" It's crazy. Star. Lori, is it really cold by you too? Oh my goodness. Nice to see you, Detroit Rock City. Aw. Detroit Rock City says, "I agree 100% with Hope. He looked down and afraid. So sad, in my opinion." It was so sad, in my opinion, too. Lot lizards, lot lizards. Hey, couponing. Good to see you, sweetheart. Lori, thank you for the green hearts. Cold in Florida. Yep, here in Jacksonville, Susan says. Oh, thank you, Hey Jude, for dropping Gracie's channel. Holly S. KP reminds me of Shanda Vander Ark. Shanda Vander Ark was something else. The Yeah, that case was absolutely wretched, in my opinion, absolutely wretched. And then the brother, and then he's got a girlfriend. And see, that's another person, Holly S, that has a girlfriend in jail, although he helped starve his brother, systematically starve his brother to into till he passed away. And that poor child was emaciated, um, like as if they were in the Holocaust. It was so awful, and that's what the judge described the photos as. I don't know how they do that. Hey Jude says the restaurant meals should be relaxing and fun. Absolutely. Hey Jude, I agree. And just like conversation. And I mean, I understand they spent the whole day together. Maybe they were both zonked out. I can understand that. It was a long day. But in the same way, I think that it should have been something that was relaxing, although I also feel like it's very strange that she did not get an entree, you know, she just got the, um, french fries. So, ooh, it's summer where Kaika is. It's been 40 degrees for a couple weeks, some days up to 45 where I am. Awesome. That's wonderful. That is wonderful. The weather in Florida is beautiful. Just at nighttime it's been getting cold, which is fine by me because I sleep hot anyway. Yes, HIPAA sounds ridiculous, Susan said. Autumn says he don't know what HIPAA means, in my opinion. No, he does not. And Holly S says, makes me wonder if he didn't even know his meds, or they had stopped the meds, or maybe they were stealing his meds. Well, I mean, that's a good point. So I don't know. It's so weird about the medications, right? It's very strange because of the eating habits and things like that. We were talking about them possibly wearing off, if they stopped giving them to him or if they over medicated. There's a lot of speculation on that. So, yeah, absolutely. Brown eyed girl says it takes her forever to eat. It's just better for you. I mean, like if you have a chance to do it. Forever Nikki's mom says, you knew Trishy, you know he is not pervy to HIPAA. He's a little too pervy with HIPAA there. And Star says, Chris, HIPAA violation. My one silly jam for the night. Oh no, you guys are fine. You guys can do those jams are fine. I'm gonna tell you, he can. Well, I got one video at the end. You guys are gonna be like, yeah, he's a jerk. And well, I'm sure most of you have heard it, but Holly says, in my opinion, they needed to be out of the house for some reason. Yeah, well, and that's one really strong speculation, Holly. I agree with that. There's got to be a reason why they were out at this Texas Roadhouse. It's killing me when I figure it out, or if they tell us, I'm going to be really happy because it's like, it's just really bothering me. Stacy, thanks for being here. Oh, your dogs won't go outside because it's too hot, Kaika. Oh my goodness. He needs his man card pulled. Forever Nikki's mom. So I put a silly man card in there. I put a revoked mullet card in there as an emoji, and then I also put a real man card in there for all of you real men out there. So you guys go get you some of that. And Detroit Rock City says, I never sit down and eat. I usually pick because I am the one who cooks and serves everyone. Yeah, absolutely. I've done that too a lot. Like where it's like if I've done a lot of cooking for the day and you're trying stuff, right? Like making sure it tastes good and everything. And then once it comes time to eat, you're like, oh, I don't really want to go. I don't really want to eat right now. So I understand that completely. And that's so sweet of you. Oh, cool. New South Wales, Australia. I knew you were from Australia, Kaika. That's so cool. I'm so honored to have you in here. And Trishy says, I love Brussels sprouts grilled with balsamic oil. Oh, yes. And olive oil with spices, herbs, etc. So good. Speaking of steakhouses, Longhorn Steakhouse has really great Brussels sprouts. Like they do like a honey butter on them. Oh my gosh, they're so good. They're out of this world. Yeah, stress as well. Reach for the sky. Absolutely. Brown Eyed Girl says he certainly didn't need to be withheld food, period. Absolutely. I agree with that. I just don't understand a mom not wanting to feed their kids. It's weird, and not letting them have just the run of things. Like if you want to go, especially at his age, right? If you want to go in the fridge, grab yourself whatever, go for it, buddy. Especially, if you're hungry, you're hungry. Okay, Trishy, thank you. Other states have been up to 50 degrees. Ooh, wow. I'll bet she used the telehealth visits too. I don't see how they can get a good read on someone on a telehealth, but that's just my opinion. I know that in Web Sleuths, Chris was talking about how they had recently went to the doctor, but obviously he wasn't in town, so I don't think that he made the doctor's appointments or went to any of them. So that's a very strong possibility. Lisa Ann says it's been way too long, and what KP and CP have been found out doing that morning in the dark at 3 a.m. I have had a feeling, in my opinion, he is not around anymore. Yeah, Lisa Ann, I have some really strong opinions on some of that too. I want to keep the hope alive. But there's a lot of different scenarios and ways that this could have, in Chris's own words, gone south. And I have a strong feeling that there's something to be said about the RVs and them switching them around. I think that there is something to be said about the landfill search, which Jen will get into in a little bit. And yeah, I agree with you. It's been a long time. The 3 a.m. lights were that happened. That happened. We cannot deny it. It is not a trash truck, and I think most of us knew that. So thank you, Lisa, for commenting. Okay, guys, it's control, Stacy says. All right, I'm going to go ahead and play this very next clip for everybody. Let's see. We're on, it's like 3, 4. We did. Okay, so we're on this one.
I'm not saying he hasn't eaten in days. I'm saying, why was that? One of the reasons could have been because he was off his medication. We know that Sebastian Rogers was medicated for his medical condition, and that the medication he took suppressed his appetite. So one of the thought processes is that he was not on his medication. And that's why we saw him eat in, like I said, what I noticed didn't seem the normal manner of how most people eat. Most 15-year-olds eat even, unless they're starving. And then that's the other possibility, right? We know for a fact that Sebastian Rogers was punished. They did not like him, meaning Chris and Katie Proudfoot, who Sebastian Rogers lived with. Katie Proudfoot was his mother. Chris Proudfoot was his stepfather. We know for a fact, because I just got done listening to them talk about this, they did not appreciate the fact that Sebastian Rogers would get up in the middle of the night and eat, take snacks, take treats. Now, Sebastian Rogers was not fat. He wasn't overweight. He wasn't at all on that side. I personally think he was very thin. His weight ratio to his height tells us he was thin. When you look at pictures of him, you can tell he's thin. The kid was thin. Now, the Proudfoots say they didn't let him, they didn't want him in the kitchen because he would get up in the middle of the night and he would eat snacks that weren't healthy for him, sweets. I want to talk about next some very important things that happened really very early on in the investigation. When I say early on, now we know, unless we're not going to believe the wanted posters, the information from the FBI, all the information put out there was he was last seen on the 26th. Why do I think that might be accurate? Why do I think he might have actually been seen on the 26th, not the 25th when we saw him at the roadhouse? I think so because I believe law enforcement here. What do I think is there? Because this is important. Katie Proudfoot said she put him to bed and she never checked on him after. Despite hearing noises, at first she says, well, it sounded like he might have been playing with something or had something. And then it became a noise, a loud noise, then it became a thud. Really, challenge you all to look, if you know, just so you know where I'm getting this from. I'm getting this from Katie Proudfoot herself, from digesting and perusing all her different statements she has made. It's progressed. What the thud noise, or sorry, I'm doing backwards. Thud, loud noise, sounded like he was playing with something, right? And she doesn't go in. She says, it's time to go to bed. Stop it. Whatever you're doing, get to bed. It's fine. I'm not going to judge her for that. But I find it very interesting, the progression of how she describes this noise. Let me tell you why. And I'm not saying this happened. I'm saying what I have seen in my experience. What I have seen in my experience is that people, when they are involved in a situation where they are either covering or involved in a child being hurt, that oftentimes they will foreshadow and say things like, I heard something. I heard a thud. I heard something noisy. Why? I'm not saying, again, Katie is doing this. I'm saying I've seen it in my experience, because they're trying to explain, if that child is found, why they might have bruises, why they might have an injury that could be life-threatening. Oh, that must have been when I heard that thud. That must have been that. So I'm not saying that here. I am just saying I've seen that. Secondarily, I want to say I am raising this as a red flag only in the fact that Katie wasn't consistent from moment one. This is your child that's missing, and you are making statements about it. Most people, it doesn't elevate from, well, I think he might have been, I think she first said something like messing with something. It sounded like he was, playing with something, to a loud thud, right? You start off with the loud thud. Oh my gosh, the night he went missing, I remember a loud thud. If this is the truth, right? When it's not truthful, you hear progressions and you hear missteps and misstatements. Now, giving her the benefit of the doubt, maybe she just didn't phrase it right at the beginning. Maybe as she thought about it, she realized, you know what, that was pretty loud. I probably should say loud thud. For you all to consider, but for me, it raises a red flag. So I've got another red flag standing up, just in terms of the veracity of Katie Proudfoot, specifically about what happened that night with the noise and Sebastian.
Okay, guys, so there is a lot of suspicion on Jen's part. She does say that there has to be a reason because of the verbiage on the missing flyers from law enforcement that Sebastian was last seen on the 26th. I will say that even after thinking about it more so, because I know that we talked about it on a different live, I really don't think that that is the case. I don't think that he was ever seen after the 25th at the roadhouse, even to take the trash out. That's just my opinion, though. Now, Katie's progression, the missteps, and the misstatements that Jen was talking about, that Katie heard these noises. Now, I'm not sure if she was able to hear that QB interview, but she talks about foreshadowing, and I think it fits in even more so with what she's saying here. So when people are lying, when they've played a part in or covering for or involved in any way in a crime, you'll see these progressions, is what she said. And that's from her professional opinion, 25 years, retired FBI agent. And so she says that they'll foreshadow events, as in in this case, the noises that Katie heard. So at first it was just that he was playing in his room, and she told him, I don't know what you're doing in there, but you need to go to bed. The next time it was that she heard some sort of a noise, but that wasn't very out of the ordinary. That happens a lot, and she'll hear noises in there and she'll tell him, I don't know what you're doing in there, but you need to go to sleep. Then it goes to Nancy Grace, and she tells Nancy that it's just a thud. She doesn't say it's a loud thud. She said just a thud. Because Nancy, when she said that it was a thud, Nancy's ears perked up and she's like, what do you mean a thud? Because that sounds a little bit more aggressive, right? Than just a noise, or him playing. And so she's like, well, what do you mean? She goes, just a thud. And so in that regard, I do believe that she was foreshadowing. I agree 100%. And then even more so when we heard from Katie on Queen Bee last night on the live, she says that, she plays the scenario out and even tells us, she says, I'll hear him in there and it's like, I don't care, I don't want to know. I just don't want to know what's going on in there. Things like that. That says a lot too. It speaks a lot to what kind of parent that Katie was, in my opinion. That she heard noises in his room, but she didn't really care to find out what was going on in there. She just wanted him to go to bed. And unfortunately, Jen thinks that in this case and in other cases that she has seen, the foreshadowing is in case they are to find this person, or in this case, Sebastian, with injuries, then they can be more easily explained because she already set up the narrative as in, I heard a thud, I heard a noise. And so that would indicate that something happened to cause the bruising or the injury. So that I thought was very telling. But she said that you do see this type of progression happening, so small to large, and then you also see misstatements and missteps when people are involved or when they're not being truthful. And Anne says that that thud from the overdose was him falling over, hitting his head on his desk, in my opinion. Oh gosh, Anne, I mean, that is something that is possible. That is something that Seth had thought maybe had happened with the OD situation. So that is possible. Thank you for all the green hearts couponing. That's so sweet. And Lori says that could be Lisa. And oh, good night, brown-eyed girl. Good to see you. Good to see you. Or good night, rather. Boy, I'm not batting 1,000 tonight, guys. I'm so sorry. All right, we'll see you guys. Do I think, okay, Gracie asks, do I think that Sebastian made it home? More and more, ever since the Texas Roadhouse video came out, I don't think that he made it home. I don't think that he made it home. Now, the problem is with the 3 a.m. lights. Someone came from where their home is, from that direction, through that common area, and there were definitely flashlights at 3 a.m. If he was taken somewhere after the Texas Roadhouse, why would those 3 a.m. lights be there? I've thought a lot about that. I've thought a lot about it because it wouldn't, I mean, then it kind of disproves one theory or another, right? But I am leaning more towards he didn't make it home. And then that they were possibly handing off some kind of something that they forgot earlier in the night. There are no perfect crimes out there. So I'm leaning more towards that, as if something was forgotten, somebody had to go back, or somebody went along for the ride and needed to be dropped off, is a possibility too. But either way, somebody would have had to come from that area to where the other light source was and then go back to the house. So I'm still stuck on that because that would disprove, in my opinion, him never coming home from the roadhouse, if that makes sense. But I don't know, Gracie, what do you think? I'd love to know what you think. Gracie's super smart, guys. You need to go over and check her channel out. And couponing says, in my opinion, trash trucks don't drive in people's yards 3 a.m. They pick up the trash totes on the side of the road. Absolutely couponing. And many, many people from the beginning were like, there is no way that is a trash truck. Like they would not do it. It's so loud. In a nicer area like that, people aren't going to like that. And then also, we know from Bobby the neighbor, so she also indicated that for a while there was some there was a discrepancy where when the buses were coming through and when the trash was being picked up. So the trash is usually picked up, between 5 and 5:30, just a rough window estimate, right? But in between that time period, that's when they typically pick the trash up. And that would be so that way they're out of the area in time for the kids to get out and then get onto the buses. So, hi May, good to see you. Hey y'all, she says, did anyone hear that the Secret Services in Tennessee, something about, okay, I did not see anything about Secret Service in Tennessee, but that does not mean that it didn't happen. I've had a full day. Detroit Rock City says, just like bringing up the flashlight to for cover for the flashlights seen on camera. In my opinion, they have a story for everything to cover their asses. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And they've changed their story so many times. Hey Sherry. Um, Lisa says, no, they do not, or no, they don't. And that trash company said their trash trucks don't leave the lot till 5 a.m. Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I was kind of in that time frame. I wanted to give a good time frame. Also, just think about there's going to be different circumstances. You're not always going to be there at exactly the same time every single day. There's traffic, there's different things. Although 5 o'clock is a pretty mild hour for traffic, I would imagine. Gracie says, if the Secret Service is there in Tennessee, they are not going to let anyone know. Plus, they do more electronics than anything, in my opinion. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if the Secret Service is involved, in this case, that's wonderful news. I don't think they would tell either, Gracie. I really don't. They're called the Secret Service for a reason. And Autumn says, was KP on QB? Yes, ma'am, she was. We played it last night. It is the full interviews linked to the video for the live for last night. And it was for May 23rd, 2024. That is the last time that Katie has come out and talked about Sebastian or his missing. That was the last time we heard from KP. And since then, to my knowledge, she has lawyered up. And she is pleading the fifth and refusing to speak, obviously on the advice of her lawyer, which I don't agree with Katie or Chris. I think, in my opinion, that they're guilty of doing something nefarious to Sebastian. In the same way, good defense attorney for them to keep their mouth shut, because every time they go out there, they really put their proud feet in their mouths. And I know, Autumn, there's so much stuff. There's so much stuff. I think so. If she doesn't, you can go and watch mine. And that was just what I did there is heavily edited. Basically, I just took everything out except for what Chris and Katie were saying and only I only put commentary or questions in there to keep things into context. It is heavily edited, though, just so you know, I skipped over a lot of Chris in the beginning, went straight over to where Katie started talking, and we went over it last night. So, yeah, yep, May 23rd, yeah. And Lisa says she should. Yeah, I'm unsure too, Gracie. Thank you for looking, because I'm not sure. I downloaded it a while back. I downloaded it in May, but I don't keep everything on my phone because it's a storage issue, I mean, I could always re-download it. But Couponing says, thanks, Lisa. That was one of my questions I had on my list to find out. Okay, good job, guys. Oh, hey, Lindsay Nielsen. How are you? Good to see you, girl. What lizards? And Gracie says, I think that the audio was spoken to throw people off. I don't feel he made it home. No. Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah, the audio was taken out. Well, and I don't know how much they'd be able to hear. Now, it did look like it was like a camera that was close to the table, in my opinion, or where they were sitting. So there may have been some kind of good audio that we could have heard. Although a lot of times those places are really loud, and I don't know if they were playing music and stuff. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just play this next clip for you guys.
I want to talk about next some very important things that happened really very early on in the investigation. When I say early on, now we know, unless we're not going to believe the wanted posters, the information from the FBI, all the information put out there was he was last seen on the 26th. Why do I think that might be accurate? Why do I think he might have actually been seen on the 26th, not the 25th when we saw him at the roadhouse? I think so because I believe law enforcement here. What do I think is there? Because this is important. Katie Proudfoot said she put him to bed and she never checked on him after. Despite hearing noises, at first she says, well, it sounded like he might have been playing with something or had something. And then it became a noise, a loud noise, then it became a thud. It really challenge you all to look if just so you know where I'm getting this from. I'm getting this from Katie Proudfoot herself, from digesting and perusing all her different statements she has made. It's progressed. What the thud noise, I'm doing backwards. Thud, loud noise, sound. All right. I find it very early in the investigation on March 4th, very early in the investigation, that they had pretty much curtailed a lot of their main search efforts. And they specifically, meaning law enforcement, specifically came out and said, we have moved from a search situation to an investigative situation. Now, sometimes this happens because you realize, again, from my background, you realize that you have to examine where a 15-year-old could walk to in the amount of time you had to work with, right? So law enforcement gets on scene, they start searching. If we believe Katie, the last thud was heard at around 10 or so. So he had a long time that he could have left and gone quite a long way. You know the problem with that? He's not seen on any video surveillance cameras anywhere. And that's not coming from Jennifer Coffin Duffer, specifically told to us by law enforcement. He was not seen on any video. This is another red flag. No video surveillance of Sebastian Rogers. Walking around the neighborhood, knocking from door to door, leaving and going and walking out on the streets and being picked up by somebody. That's what law enforcement is telling us, okay? It's a red flag. And that tells me, as they well said, that's one of the reasons they're moving from a search to where he could have possibly walked or where somebody would have picked him up. We've looked at all this. We don't see him being picked up. We don't see him at all. Great. They say that they don't have any, and this is important. Law enforcement says, listen, we don't have any information that this is foul play. Words to that effect. We don't have any information that there's foul play, but everything's on the table. Okay, I'm going to tell you this right now. It's like when you hear law enforcement say things like this: they're a person of interest, as opposed to they're a subject, as opposed to they're under suspicion. I've talked about I talked about this a lot in the Harmony Montgomery case. When we're in the bullpen, when we're talking about these cases, you can call it potato, potato, tomato, tomato. When we say this is our person of interest, I got to ask this actually on News Nation about Luigi Mangione. The question was, Jennifer, they're saying they have a person of interest. This was after he was arrested at McDonald's, but we didn't hear about any charges yet. So it was very early on, right after they took him and detained him. The question was asked, does this mean he did it? Is he a subject? They're not saying he's a subject, he's a person of interest. I'm saying absolutely he's a subject. You can call it a potato, you can call it a potato. Yes, he's a person of interest. And I'm equating that to this, meaning law enforcement will often say, before they're getting ready, not before, but when they don't know exactly what they have, and this was very early on, just within a week, they are not going to say they know there's foul play unless it's completely obvious, like they have somebody on video shooting the child, or they have somebody that called and said, I just killed my child, like we saw happen with the man who killed his 4 kids, right? Or I think it was 3 sons. We're not talking about a smoking gun case here. So no, law enforcement is basically telling you, generally speaking, it's all on the table. Just because we don't have it narrowed down to the exact foul play, it's all on the table.
Okay, guys, so it's all on the table is pretty much sums up that chapter. Sorry, I tried to play the other one and it played the wrong one. But now, so they turned everything from a search to an investigation. We all know that. They scaled back the search, and then they started in on their investigation on day 8. They had to identify where a 15-year-old could go. I understand that. I definitely understand that. However, he didn't take anything with him. So how far could he have gotten is my question. Now, if there was no surveillance of him leaving the neighborhood, that leads me to believe that he wasn't picked up on the side of the road, although it's not out of the realm of possibility. I just don't see that being a strong possibility, in my opinion, because there was no surveillance. It does beg the question, did a neighbor see Sebastian out on the 26th? But as his eyes 7 says, I did some Googling and found the sunrise on the morning Sebastian went missing was at 6:21 a.m. So the trash truck, according to Bobby, the neighbor, started at 5 a.m. and out of the neighborhood before the school buses came. So, again, I don't think that if it was pitch black in their neighborhood that anybody physically saw Sebastian, but since there is that verbiage on the flyers, it's a possibility that could be. L.E. went... okay. Then she goes into the fact that they're not going to tell us that it's foul play in the beginning. I understand that completely. I just have a really hard time with the fact that his home was not treated like a crime scene because that's where he went missing from. Um, that was the last place he was seen by his mother. And so I think that they needed to do their due diligence on that, and then they did it. Minnie, thank you so much for gifting 5 Lady Freedom memberships. Aw, that was so sweet of you. If you guys get a membership from Minnie, make sure that you say thank you to her. Oh, that was amazing. Thank you so much. And Gracie says they might have been lying about the shoes too. Yeah, absolutely. And then who has 3 pairs of shoes? I know that I have way too many pairs of shoes. I get that. Like, I do have way too many pairs of shoes. But also being a female, we have all of our different types of shoes we have to have, right? But when it comes to even a 15-year-old child not having more than 3 pairs of shoes that we know of, that screams a huge red flag. That screams a huge red flag. Yes, thank you, Minnie. Ah, you guys are you're so sweet. Hey, Minnie. Yeah, and so it's just I don't know. I don't know. It's like bizarro land. It's bizarro land, and they expect us to believe it. And then and LE too. That goes for the police, but they can lie to us. They can tell us anything that they want. They do not have to tell us anything, and I do believe that there is obviously in large part good reasons, and they should keep the investigation close to the vest. I totally understand that, so I'm not faulting them in any way for that. But she said that they kept everything on the table, and so I also believe that they don't want to, again, I've said this before, tip anybody off, as in if they were to clear Seth, for instance, then the Proudfeet would know that the heat was on them, right? If they cleared one of the Proudfoots, then it could be the heat on Katie or Seth, right? If they cleared 2 of them, again, the one that was the odd man out would be looked at as the suspect, and that's the last thing that Ellie wants to do. So I completely understand it, from all angles there. And his I7 says KP and CP around 6 a.m. So it was still dark. It was no trash truck. For one, they don't go through the yards, and they have red lights in the truck. No red lights in the flashlight video. That is a great point. That is an excellent point. And also, the trash person wouldn't go back to the house, right? So even if it was a traveling weird light that the people say, it was 2 trash people or men that were doing this, the other person wouldn't have gone back to the house. And so also, that's a great point. His I7. Also, Bobby says that they don't do that. So they just go around with the trash arm and pick the trash up, dump it, and go to the next house. And then they go through the neighborhood. Like you had mentioned earlier, that way they're out of the area when the kids are coming out for school. So yeah, it's just, there's so many inconsistencies. Oh, thank you. Many. And oh, that's so sweet. Roadhouse is on. Oh, the movie Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze. Margaret, you're hilarious. And Hey Jude says, according to Bobby, he was carried out. According to Bobby, it was carried out. Maybe. Gosh, I would hope that nobody saw something and then. Minnie, your husband never saw the Roadhouse? Oh man. He's in for a treat. He's in for a treat. And his I7 says, I agree. Hey, Jude. And Lisa says, because CP had to be at work at 7. Right. Well, and we all know that there was huge discrepancies in that, because he said that he had one earbud in. This was in the first interview with the local news, not Duchess. Duchess was the very first interview. The second interview and the first one that was on local news, um, Chris basically says that he has one earbud in listening and directing the crane, and then he has the other earbud in talking with Katie. And that was clear as day, crystal clear. There's no denying it. Those were his words, not mine. And Forever Nikki's mom says, I agree with that theory also. I mean, he could have been carried out. He could have been carried out. And then one person goes back, right? And then who would have been that only person though? Katie, you know. It's easier if you do weight distribution with a person. And we've talked about this before too. If you're carrying them upside down and the weight is evenly distributed, it's very much easier to carry the person. Now on her back or something like that, I don't think that she carried him in that way, unless there was some sort of a bag that was used. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities. Gracie says, oh no, I was talking about the flashlight audio. Oh, the flashlight audio. I don't know what to think about the flashlight audio, to be honest with you. I have not heard any audio that was clean enough to decipher, in my opinion. I've tried to listen to a couple of different ones. So if anybody has a good clean audio or something that has been cleaned up a little bit, I would love to listen to it and just give my opinion on it. But I don't know. I don't know what to think about the audio from the flashlight video. I don't know. It would depend on the system that they had, I think, too. Oh, thank you. Hey, Jude. Thank you. Yeah, I want to listen to it better too, Minnie. Like, I want to listen to the one that's not so like garbled up and goobled up. I want to listen to something that's a little bit cleaner, because I can't just take it off of somebody who's listening to it and telling me what they think it is. I have to listen to it myself. I'm just weird like that. I can't take someone else's word for it. And I mean, not to discredit anybody who has tried to decipher this. I mean, we're all going to do the best we can with it. It's very rough audio. It's very rough audio. Margaret, you are not old. You are hilarious. And the audio, yeah, okay. So Hey Jude says Grace's gavel. The audio is so mysterious. It is so mysterious that I don't really have an opinion on it, Hey Jude. I really don't, because I was like, I need to listen to this. I need to listen to it. He's been sheltered, Minnie. You guys are so funny. His I7 says it has to be an awful loud thud if he had carpeting in his room. What bothers me is KP says he has a child's mind in a teen's body. So why would you not check on your child? Those are awesome points. Really great points. The carpeting in the bedroom, absolutely. I mean, you can still kind of hear a muffled thud, but it would have been, if it was a loud enough thud, it would have had to have been pretty bad for it to be heard on the carpet. Absolutely. And then also, one other thing that does cause pause for me is that I think that they have pretty much disparaged Sebastian as many times as they possibly can. I think that he was way higher functioning, or he is way higher functioning than they let on to begin with. And then as time went on, it was like, well, he was on the chess team, and all of these things that he was able to be able to do. Online courses, those are really tough, even for anybody. a lot of people prefer, in-person learning. And so for you to be able to have, or for Sebastian to be able to have the, the organization, the time management, the ability to learn independently, there were a lot of things that he could do, and I think they always like to have focused on all of the things that he couldn't do, or maybe all of the things that he wasn't as good at. Um, and that's just my opinion, but I think they definitely downplayed that. And Gracie says, um, it certainly is Hey Jude, and if this was all planned the way they have said certain things out loud on purpose, in my opinion. Yeah, I think they tried to set themselves up, and it didn't really work out well for them because they couldn't remember the lies that they told. And then small embellishments, too. When you add little embellishments into your story, it becomes less believable, but it's just one of those things that kind of happens the more that you're asked about it if you're not being truthful. If you're being truthful, it's easier to stick to like the same general frame of what your statement is, right? Instead of it being all over the place, or where you're not you're not necessarily having to remember what you've said, because the truth is the truth, right? So I think that's a great point, you guys. That's a great point. No carpet in the house at all. I believe that the bed, well, I know they told Nancy that there was carpet in his bedroom. And then I believe the bonus room was carpeted as well, but I could look and see on that too. Um, Now, of course, the pictures that I've seen are from redfin.com, which was prior to them moving in. Yeah, Gracie says we all know Edgar plays games. And Forever Nikki's mom says 100% Gracie. Yeah, their carpet is, I believe there was in the bonus room. I'll check whenever I put you guys back into the videos really quick. Which I need to write which one I'm on again because I messed that up last time. Part for the course today. Lisa says, in my opinion, LE did go back and looked at their KP and CP video coverage because it could still record even if they don't have service, because they did have cameras. Right. That has always been like a huge point of contention and confusion when it comes to these cameras. Nina said they had cameras. I believe Seth also said they had cameras. Katie worked for Brinks. All of these things, Lisa. So that's a really great point. I mean, there could definitely be some footage out there that we don't know about, or that they haven't disclosed, or that they're hiding. Aw, thank you, Hey Jude. Gracie, you're so funny. She says, well, dang, I was thinking about my house. Bobby was wrong, in my opinion, Lisa says. I think that I found Bobby to be believable. I really did. Now, I know that everybody, and this is one thing that we're going to do on a members only live. Gracie and I are working on it. And what it's going to be is us looking at a photo, different photos, maybe even some mock crime scene photos, and seeing writing down what we see in a couple of minutes, right? And just trying to see what kind of differences in detail are we missing. What kind of perceptions do either of us have? Not saying it's a right or wrong. It's not going to be. It's meant to be fun, but it's also about perception. And somebody that might see, even down to something as easy as like a black shirt as opposed to a dark navy brown or dark navy blue shirt. It's going to be up to the person's perception, and perspective. And then also trauma and different, in the situation, it causes different results as well. So it's just really interesting to dive into. Um, I don't think Bobby was being malicious in any way by recalling things. Now, nobody is going to be 100%. This has happened too, interestingly enough, and scary, really, in crime scene lineups. So the victim has gotten someone wrong in the crime scene lineup because of just small details or someone looks similar. And so I found Bobby to be credible. I really did. Um, but that's just my opinion. And Star says, I know that saying is words. Oh, I know the saying is word salad, but to be honest, I prefer word soup, not because of alphabet soup, but because soup is more slippery. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, I like to say semantics. I think it's a semantics, but that's a good analogy. Word soup. Um, because you can't really get through it, right? It's like a hearty soup. I know what you're saying. And sometimes it's hard to decipher things within the soup. Is that a carrot? Is that a celery? Whatever. Um, but yeah, and it's a manipulation. It's a tactic. It's a manipulation tactic. It's gaslighting. It's you know don't believe what don't believe what you're seeing. Believe what I say that is happening, and that's highly manipulative behavior. And Lisa says, because the flashlight video was recorded at 3 a.m. Yeah, I think they were saying three between 3, but I think it was 3:10 a.m. But again, Bobby says that she looked at this from the neighbor's camera. Now, in the video, um, we do see like a smaller frame, so I mean, it's open. Lisa, I will tell you this. It is open to interpretation. When I first saw the flashlight video, I said it looks like UFOs. Um, because it was very, very, very hard to decipher. Um, so I'm open to interpretation, definitely. And hey Jude asks, do you think he was carried out? And the clock was stuck, Gracie. That's another good point. So the clock was stuck at that time frame, so it's hard to really know what time this all transpired. But what we do know is that it was before the trash truck and the school buses and Katie waking up and the sun coming up. We know all of that information, so we can only surmise that it happened sometime within a certain time frame, narrowing it down. um Maybe even narrowing it down backwards from when we know the trash truck was there, right? Because then we can go backwards and say, okay, if it was an hour and a half before or something like that. There's different ways that we can kind of decipher it, but if the clock was stuck, it's going to be definitely hard. Thanks, Gracie, for writing that up there too. Lisa says yes, he was. That's why they went back to get video, in my opinion. And Jude says, yes, I agree. Star says, do we have confirmation that the 3 a.m. video was correct time then? I vaguely recall the timestamp being called into question. Yeah, it really always was. When Seth was on Pascal, he even told him that LE told Seth that it was a trash truck. And then he also indicated to Pascal that the clock on the video or on the camera where the video was taken from was stuck at 3:10 a.m. So yeah, there's always been that discrepancy because it was stuck. And it's hard to tell. But then again, like I said, you could always kind of go back from that when you see the trash truck coming through and then kind of go backwards in time too. But that they've always referred to it as the 3:10 a.m. trash truck. So excuse me, well, that was what they called it in the beginning, but now it's just the 3:10 a.m. flashlight video, basically. And Gracie says, I feel a jammer was used on the cameras, especially after I heard Bobby's phone call. Yeah, I looked into the jammers extensively. because of that, because I was wondering, you know, I pretty much typed it into Google, why would a camera be stuck at a certain time? That was one of the reasons why. So I found that to be really interesting and intriguing, since we didn't know what exactly was going on with it. But um, again, then we hear from Bobby. So it's you know, whenever we get a new piece of information, in this case, it always seems like it leads to more questions rather than answers. And I think that's what's been so frustrating, especially because we don't have the full scope of what transpired, or what law enforcement knows either. So, and Gracie says, "Me too, Star." And Bobby backs this up from the neighbor with the video. Yeah, yeah, she does. She says that she spoke with the neighbor. And we got to remember too, Bobby's been in the community for a really long time. I mean, she went to school over at Beach, things like that. She's been in that house, in that neighborhood rather, for quite a while. And so, I mean, it's something where, like I said, sometimes about perception, and just a difference of recalling. Some people are better at recalling things than other people. Some people have better memories, short-term memories, long-term memories. We all have our things, right? And Gracie says, or Star says, "Gracie, I tend to think you're right on that one. It's an intriguing theory considering KP's employment history." Yeah, absolutely. Why didn't they have Brinks? Or a different one. I know the family before that had ADT, because there was an ADT sign in the yard. Well, maybe they didn't have it. Maybe they just had the sign in the yard. But either way, you would think that they would have that. And that's one thing that we've talked about several times now, on the lives, is that you know she's has a husband who's working out of town. He's been gone all of February, so you would think she would have those safeguards in place for her and Sebastian while she's by herself. You know, if they didn't have the means, I wouldn't think of it that way. But because they have the means, then I don't understand why they didn't um, have those safeguards in place. Not shaming anybody that doesn't have security cameras when they can't afford them, but I believe that the Proud Feet could, and Katie worked for Brinks. Whoops, goodness sakes. And Star says, "Hey Jude," says Star, "based on the time that elapsed between the flashlight video, the trash truck, and Katie driving out, it basically 3 to 3:15. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, we do have those time frames, and those, we have those. We have, so. Hey, Poppy, good to see you, Poppy Love. And Gracie says, the neighbor with the video was shocked to learn anything was on it. The stuff over KP's shoulder could have been the military bag stuffed with items. I feel they're playing games." Yeah, are you talking about the pickle bag? I think it's called, like her military issued one, because I know that's come into question several times, several times. And Lisa says, yes, Gracie, she was trained in that from the service, and she worked at Brinks too. Yeah, in my opinion, yeah, absolutely. The pickle bag. Yeah, the pickle bag. Yeah, and I mean, those bags are quite large. Unfortunately, I believe that it could have been used. I believe that it's a strong possibility that someone could fit in the pickle bag. Um, you know, Unfortunately. Hey Jude says, definitely gameplay in my opinion too, Gracie. Yeah. Yeah, they've been playing around. It is a game to them. They think that they're home free. I There's no doubt in my mind about that, and except for when the Texas Roadhouse stuff started happening and coming out. I believe that put a lot more heat on the situation, and I think that in the same regard, they realized that keeping quiet wasn't going to be the best option. And I guess that's why Chris came out and said something, but then we saw how well that went over. So I agree that they have thought that and that's a narcissistic trait. They think that they're the smartest person in the room, right? They don't consider other people's opinions at all, you know. And Gracie says, plus, when you are legally married, you have the protection of your spouse legally. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is a great point. Detroit, Rock City says, KP was on the phone with CP supposedly at the time the thud happened, but CP never mentions it at all. He never says maybe you should check on him. Was CP in the home, hence the thud story, in my opinion? That's a really great question. I don't know. And you're right. They had their phone conversation between 9 and midnight, right? And so the 10 o'clock thud, I think that Chris is the type of guy that has more of that man up kind of mentality. So he's probably would tease, and this is all alleged in my opinion. He would probably tease Sebastian. Oh, mommy's got to go in there and check on him. Things like that. He's told him to man up. He's told Katie, even last night on the live, we listened to him say, she needs to put her big girl panties on. She's got to put one foot in front of the other, and she's got to move forward. Things like that. And so, yeah, I could definitely see him not caring if they heard a thud. And honestly, Katie said it herself last night. I don't want to know. She didn't care if there was a thud in there, in my opinion. She didn't care. She wasn't trying to check on Sebastian. He was too old for that, in their opinion. He needed to man up. Hey, Sandy. Good to see you, Sandy. Aw. Sandy says, all my favorite people are in the house. And Susan says, I'm pretty convinced it was flashlights. What does everyone else think it was? I really do think it was flashlights, Susan. I do. I think it was flashlights. There were two stationary lights. I don't think they were lawn lights, as they were saying, as Clue and Cletus were saying that they were. I think that they were stationary floodlights. That's why you see the two floodlights. And then I believe that the moving light sources were flashlights. So that's all I can come up with. That's just my opinion. And Hey Jude says, every morning I check the local news hoping he's found. I know, Hey Jude, I know you do. It's one of those things that we just always are looking for updates, hoping that something is going to break in this. Something has to break in this case. Something has to. Star says, anyone who thinks we're ignorant enough to buy the trash truck story should cameo in Idiocracy. Yeah. I don't know why LE came up with that silly story. I mean, I don't know why Clue and Cletus tried to say that it was Nick Barris's phone that was moving, and that's why the light sources were, quote, moving. I don't know. I think maybe they do play, or they're trying to play us for fools, and the general public isn't like that. They're not fools, the general public. Also, true crimers aren't either. We question everything, right? Trust nothing but with what you can see with your own eyes. And as Gracie always likes to put it, if there's no receipts, it didn't happen. So I think that's a good general rule of thumb. And Gracie says, exactly how our trash trucks work. We have way too many companies out here. I wish my subdivision would pick 2 at the most. Yeah, I mean, I don't have to actually deal with like having an actual trash bin, but when I did, it was always like clockwork. I mean, it wasn't like they came whenever they felt like it. They have routes that they have to stick to and things like that. So And Sandy says, I took a couple letters out of my name trying to simplify. I love it, Sandy. I'm glad you didn't change your picture though, because I know you by your avatar. And Lisa says, anyone with wired security cameras, she could not mess up. Exactly, Lisa. And we talked about that in a live prior to this. If the camera is hardwired, as in plugged into a source, then it is not able to be jammed. But if it is a Wi-Fi signal, if it's running that way, then it can be jammed. So great point. And flashlights may be from a phone. Absolutely. Yeah. Like the flashlight that I have on both of my iPhones are super bright. So you can definitely see them. They didn't have to use like a physical flashlight. They could have used their phones. Absolutely. Absolutely. Aw. Gracie, that's so sweet. Sandy. Oh my goodness, that's funny, Star. And then Hey Jude says, according to the call with Bobby, UA Crimson Tide and Crabtree, someone saw a video of Sebastian being carried out. Oh, see, I have no idea. I have no idea about that. I've not heard anything. I'm steering clear of the Crabtree situation. But if you guys want to elaborate or send me something, I would be happy to consider it. Gracie says the fact that, that is a fact, Lisa. And if Ellie has this, they will not say. Absolutely. They're not going to say anything. They haven't come out since April 2nd. They are not coming out. The only time we're going to see them come out is when they do a perp walk or when they do a presser after they have someone, either Sebastian is found or they have someone in handcuffs. That is my personal opinion. They're not going to come out. Sheriff Craddock is not going to come out. Lisa says, so true about Gracie's comment. They saw a bag. Gracie says they saw a bag, not actually Sebastian, right? I understand something over the shoulder. Yeah, I'm still pretty lost about what you guys are talking about. I'm not going to lie. And I don't want to speculate too heavily, but Gracie says, and if the audio was clear enough, I feel Ellie would have made an arrest. The DA probably cannot get it to work for a jury. Yeah, and I agree. They really do need to cross all their T's and dot their I's if they're going to push this through and prosecute. They had better have enough circumstantial evidence without having a body. So, guys, I don't know about that audio. I'm sorry. I just, nope. I can't with the audio. I can't with the audio unless it's cleaned up and where I can clearly hear at least some words. I can't hear anything. It's worse than Charlie Brown. That want. And Sandy says, is this the crazy audio we heard? Why haven't we heard the audio while watching the video? I'm confused. Same, Sandy. Oh my gosh. Oh, Sandy. That's what I mean. I'm sorry. I can't. That's another thing that's really interesting to me. I will admit that it's super interesting to me, but we hear different things, right? We're all going to hear different things. If I cannot hear the audio and make out anything in it, then I'm not taking someone else's word for it. Like, oh, I hear them saying this. I just can't. I'm super confused too. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Yarb. And Forever Nikki's mom says, in my opinion, it seems once BHB started talking about the pickle bag, they got scared, and that is what they have started, that she was harassing them. Yeah, I mean, that was one of the main focuses, even when Court TV, when Vinnie Politan took that on. Um, that was in the clips, basically saying, and even the local news, I think, mentioned it as well, Forever Nikki's mom, if I'm not mistaken. But they said that, basically that was part of the reason why, because she was being super accusatory and saying that their military training and the use of the pickle bag that was also, military issued, was a major point of contention, and something that I think the judge may not have really appreciated from BHB. But she was merely speculating and getting close to information, in my opinion, and they didn't like that, you know. And it happens, it happens. Yes, Gracie says, good point, Sandy. And Hey Jude says, Justin Guidance and Crime Time Buzz have covered it. Brandy Gray originally released it. Brandy Gray. I have no idea who Brandy Gray is. I'm assuming it is a neighbor. And I mean, I just couldn't decipher it in any of their. I couldn't decipher it. I really couldn't. And I'm not trying to be a jerk by any means. So please, I respect the other creators, but until I can really decipher it and say it, I don't want to spread anything that I only think that I'm hearing, unless it's like unless I can clean it up. Like if I was able to obtain that audio file and I was able to clean it up in a way that I felt like I can understand it, but I just can't. I can't, even when it was played on other channels that I've heard. And maybe I haven't heard everybody's version of it, but the audio that I heard was not great. And Lisa says, in my opinion, Chris carried him out that way so he would be a part of this, and she made him carry him, and and then she ran back to get the house cleaned up. Carried him out. I mean, there could have been more than one person in the flashlight, one light source, more than one person coming from the house. We don't know. Anything's possible, Lisa. Anything is possible. Susan says, wait, the flashlight video has audio? Yes, apparently the flashlight video has audio. I just don't find it decipherable, so Margaret says, no, you are not, Margaret. I'm not even going to read that. Gracie says, it is said from the video Bobby was told about KP carried something over his shoulders to a ditch, then CP took it. That one that runs in between the common area, Gracie, like that ditch that runs in between the common area, like pretty much dang set on the middle of it. Susan thinks that too, Lisa. And Susan allegedly. So Hey Jude says, Susan Ennis allegedly from another camera and it's poor quality. Oh, so it's not from the one that picked up the flashlight. It was from a different camera at the same time, maybe? I don't know if Bobby saw that video. I would think that she would have mentioned it in the interview that she had with JLR, but maybe they didn't get that far. Maybe they were sidetracked. I don't know. I don't recall her ever saying there was audio to that video. But that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. So I'm not sure. Is that what she was talking Is that the one she was talking to Terry Lynn or JLR? Oh, JLR. On JLR. Yep. Yep. Sandy says, I wonder if there were chair marks on both sides of the fence they climbed over. I don't know. I don't know, Sandy, because I mean, it's not a terribly tall fence, but otherwise, I mean, they would have to get over it somehow. I don't think that they went over and unlatched anything because that would have made noise. I mean, it is awfully dark, so. The Bobby phone call. I'm so confused. You guys got me like totally confused tonight. I have no idea what you guys are talking about. I know the Bobby interview with JLR, but I've never heard a Bobby phone call before. I would love to, but I have no idea what you guys are talking about. I'm sorry. I'm a hot mess today. I am a hot mess today. It says Hey Jude says Gracie's gavel, somebody Bobby knows saw it at the command center. Oh, okay. I know the one lady was at the command center, and that's who told Bobby about Seth being kicked out of the command center. And then also Seth said he was kicked out of the command center. Autumn says, "Oh, with so much going on, I've missed a lot." Yeah, I mean, I have no idea what this is, like with the conversation with Bobby but Gracie says somebody recorded a conversation Bobby had with someone else. Oh, see, that is news to me. That is news to me. And Hey Jude says that bombshell caused a lot of intentional dramatic distractions, in my opinion. Yes, carpet in Seb's bedroom. Sorry, guys. I'm really behind in the chat, I think. Oh, yes, like before the members only. That would be fun. Yeah, I'm way behind in chat then. I'm way behind. All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and play this next one. And we will go ahead and yeah. Oh, Detroit Rock City, I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope your cousin gets better soon. I'll say prayers for sure. Okay, guys. I got this next one. And there we go.
Now, for those of you thinking, okay, she's got 3 red flags over here. What is in the favor of there not being a red flag right now? I will say this: Connor Jack Oswald. That kid left. He was about a year and a half older than Sebastian. 2.5 years later, he was found. It's a lot different, though, in my mind, because of the suspicious circumstances in this case versus that case. You can look it up. And because of the fact that that kid was much, much older, was much easier for him and able to get around. He was more learned, if you will. So when you look at all of that, all I'm trying to say is not that it's not possible that he could have just walked out of that door, never been seen by a security camera. It's not probable. It's not Occam's razor. So I'm holding out because I'm a glass half full. I'm holding out the maybe 10% chance, 5, maybe 5, maybe, that he just walked out and no security cameras saw him, and that he'll be found 2.5 years from now in a Walmart and somebody will report it. I think that is extremely unlikely. Or that he walked out and perhaps someone picked him up and took him. But I'll tell you right now, there is no chance, in my opinion, that something nefarious has not happened to that child. That hasn't happened to Sebastian, period. And I say that because you can't just disappear in thin air like what we're seeing. I also want to say, I want to talk a little bit about, I'm going a little bit out of order. I want to talk about the FBI poster. I'm sorry, the FBI, not the poster, but the FBI $50,000 reward. I'm going to talk about two things. I'm going to read the verbiage that they used, and I'm going to reiterate when the FBI makes such a reward. In a case that isn't just a normal missing child. In other words, there are a lot of cases where a child, 14-year-old, 15-year-old, went voluntarily missing. And in some of those cases, a donor, parents, other people might give money to the FBI, and the FBI announces it and says, listen, we're offering this reward for a missing person. In other words, in a situation where is not believed any foul play is involved. That's a different situation than we have here. But I just want to let you know that does happen. But that isn't what we have here. I want to read you exactly what the FBI says the quid pro quo is. In other words, the $50,000, what they want. Okay, ready? The reward money is being offered to anyone who can help in Sebastian's safe return or the arrest and conviction of those responsible for his disappearance is being offered by the FBI Memphis field office, the $50,000, okay? The FBI is not offering a reward except for the fact they believe there is criminal activity involved. That's my belief. That's what I think they believe. As I've said, I'm caveating all this with maybe despite our red flags. Oh, by the way, this $50,000 reward by the FBI, that's red flag number 4. That they believe criminal activity is afoot. That Sebastian Rogers isn't just wandering around. That either somebody has taken him and has him, or has killed him, or that he never made it past the threshold of his house. But we'll talk a little bit about that because of the dogs, which I do believe strongly in. All right. So 3/4 scaled back. 3/7. Many of you remember this, the fake sighting, right? There was actually a child that looked so much like Sebastian Rogers, so much that Seth even thought it might be Sebastian Rogers, so much that many people thought that could be Sebastian Rogers. People said it was AI. AI. Anyway, I didn't think it was AI again. Check my traps with that. Didn't turn out to be AI. It was a real person that just was a lookalike. So that was very interesting, very early on in the case. I'm just kind of running through some of the main things that happened.
Okay, guys, so just a little bit of information in there, basically saying that there's a 5% chance that he walked out. Jen is pretty well convinced that there was foul play in this case, and I don't blame her one bit. I agree with that. I feel like something nefarious happened to Sebastian. I don't think someone is hiding him. I could be wrong about that, but I really don't think that, because of all of the evidence kind of pointing away from that. And then also, it's really hard to believe that no one would have came forward by now. I'm glad you were able to find the audio, Autumn. I'll find it and we can play it on a different time. I will get that for sure. I have no idea. I didn't even know that there was anything out there. Now, I will put a brief disclaimer on that, guys. If I can't decipher it, I am not playing it because I don't want to speculate that heavily. I have to have solid proof. So 3 days ago, August. Thank you so much. Thank you, Autumn. You're awesome. 2024. All right. I will go a searching for that. But at any rate, I believe that something definitely nefarious happened to Sebastian. Scranton Strangler, it is good to see you. And Oh, Jay. I don't watch Jay. I don't watch Jay. But like I said, at any rate, I do believe that something nefarious happened. I think that we're going to find out sooner rather than later, but and hopefully that's the case too. Um oh, thank you, Hey Jude. Thank you. Um but you know, Detroit Rock City says, Autumn, do you know whose stream it was on? I forgot. I was watching. Oh, she says Jay. 828. Yeah, 828, 24. But either way, I think that something nefarious happened. We're gonna find out sooner rather than later, especially if KP has lawyered up. She has not done that up until this point. She was very quiet up until this point in that regard. Also, keep in mind their house is supposedly up for sale. So, you know, there's that. There's that. Um, oh, okay. Oh, cool. Yeah, I watch Chronicles of the Shady. Yeah. But, you know, it's hard for me, guys. I have basically not a whole lot of time to watch other creators, nowhere near as much as I had prior to doing my own creating and things like that. So it's just really difficult. It's not easy for me to find and track down on every single person's lives and stuff. And a lot of them, like mine, are. Oh, thank you, Hey Jude, thank you. Um, like mine are really long too, so like I couldn't expect somebody to go through my lives and find information unless they really wanted to just sit there and listen. But I just don't have a whole lot of time to go through all that. So I apologize, but we'll just go ahead and keep playing Miss Coffin Duffer tonight.
3/18. Whoa, that's a big day, right? That's been a lot right now on social media, everything that's going on, discussing the lights. I'm going to talk about the lights. I'm going to talk about the lights for this reason. The lights happened. They're on video. That video took place at 3:10 a.m. Okay? And I should say that 3/18 was when it all became public on WTVF. Okay? The lights were actually on. I'm sorry, I want to make this clear. 2:26 were the lights at 3:10 a.m. 3/18, March 18th, is when we in the public knew about the lights from 3:10, from the surveillance video, right? It got leaked. It got leaked. And a lot has been said about that, right? We heard from Seth. Seth said, well, you know, could it be the trash truck? We've heard, or not heard, but seen with our own eyes. Does it look like a couple people out there with their flashlights? You know, I want to read the specific details of that video as it was reported to us on 3/18, okay? I think this is very important. Let me see. I'm sorry. Oh, shoot. I thought I had that right handy. Essentially, it very specifically talks about how person one is seen. That's what it said. Person one. I'll post this on my Twitter later because I don't want to take time to look at it. Person one, and then person two comes into view. Then person one gets out of view. Person one comes back into view, and then the lights go out. Okay. That's the essential summary of what happened at 3:10 a.m. Was it a trash truck? Okay, first of all, this is very important. this is critical to understand that law enforcement has not said. Go ahead, go back and look at whatever you want, look at any news, look at anything you want. Is not law enforcement that has said it was the garbage truck. It is not anyone who said it's a garbage truck, except I think early on that might have been said by one of the parents. Okay? But we haven't heard it from law enforcement. To me, if I don't hear it from law enforcement, then I'm not giving it the credit that some people may. So I gave a shout out to Mob Crew because I can tell the time and energy and everything they've done to discuss those lights. We know that at least according to the reporting, it was at 3:10 a.m. But I always caution everybody, I can't tell you how many recordings that I have found. It all depends on the accuracy of the recording device itself. How was it programmed? Was it programmed, what time frame? East Coast, West Coast, Pacific? Was it changed when daylight savings happened? Blah, blah, blah. Did anybody even keep up with the time? But let's, for the sake of discussion, if we are to believe that is at 3:10, which is what the timestamp shows, and then I told you what happened. 2 people there, one person kind of fades off camera just out of the view, comes back, and then lights are turned off. If you're to believe that is legitimate, that's a red flag. That is something that law enforcement will take seriously.
Okay, guys, so she's just going over red flags in this video. So the trash truck, one thing I just really wanted to mention out of all of that was basically that LE is the one that showed Seth this video originally. So he was, again, on Pascal's show, and he was going over it. So they brought him into the office to watch the video. It's not like they gave him like this clip or anything to take with him that he could analyze or anything like that. He was shown the video in there in the office, and then told it was the trash truck by law enforcement. So, I mean, if he had had access to that, he probably could have really analyzed it better. But just being in there, and then of course, just imagine having to go into a police station and hear news about your missing child. I don't know many people that would do well with that. Not saying that Seth did well or unwell with it, but what I'm trying to get at, it's kind of like when you go to the doctor's office. It's always good to have someone come with you so that way they can retain a lot of information as well. So you're not having to just retain all of that information and absorb all of the information at once. So there's somebody else that's with you as a support that can show you kind of later on, or remind you later on, details that you may have missed. So just keep that in mind. Also, according to Seth, when he went in there, it was a very small portion of the video, and essentially they lied to him. So that's a really, really difficult scenario. And thank you forever, Nikki's mom. Yeah, just email it to me, guys. If you want me to look at it or play it, I will. To me, I've heard a lot of audio that wasn't super clear, and I don't want to play it. Oh, it was secretly recorded. Oh, star. Yeah. So I saw the star. So yeah. Did anyone else think that there was a rift between KP and CP? Two very different behaviors from both of them. Yeah, absolutely. Like, even especially last night, there were certain times where Katie would kind of put herself down and say that she was the worst at music, is one example I can give. And then Chris would turn around and be like, yeah, you're the worst. You're the worst. It just being hateful. in my opinion. And it's kind of embarrassing when somebody does that to you, and treats you like crap in front of everybody. But that's typical CP style. I believe that they were having marital problems. Before this, I believe the neighbors that recounted about telling overhearing Chris telling Katie it's either him or me, you know, either you do something with him or I will, things like that. So I definitely think that things were very tumultuous. And let's be honest, I mean, Chris has been married several times, so it's one of those things where um he doesn't try to work situations out. He just kind of like hightails it out of there and then moves on, in my opinion, from based on the history that I've seen and things like that. And Hey Jude thinks that Star is right. Detroit, Crabtree. Yeah, Mr. Crabapple is I don't watch those guys like um just not my cup of tea. Um but we'll move right along here.
All right. I want to go to some more critical dates and law enforcement information. We know that the Cajun Navy very early on came to help with this investigation. They were already in the area because they were helping out with the Riley's investigation. So they came over. And we know that on 4/1/24, and look back, April 1st, 24, they left because they were getting threats. Okay? I'm taking them at their word. I saw everything that came down. Oh, it's, we don't believe them. I've seen it all. I said back when it was happening, how pathetic that that people are getting threatened that are trying to help. How pathetic that people think that in these cases, you don't have people help all the time that are mere volunteers. Happens all the time. You don't do a background check on them. They're literally walking and trying to find a dead child. That's really what it was, right? That's where you're tracking through, foresty areas. You're force multiplied by volunteers such as the Cajun Navy. Okay, they left on 4/1. That was a big point, I think, in the investigation. Again, on 4/6, Craddock says there's no evidence of foul play. Again, I tell you how we talk in the Bureau and in law enforcement. Until you have that rock solid evidence, that rock solid case put together, is the appropriate thing to say while you're trying to figure things out. Okay? Notice we haven't heard anything like that in months. All right. Again, I said on 4/2, that was also said. I think it's very interesting that this was made into an Amber Alert. By definition, the Amber Alert typically means the person was taken. That's the whole idea. The bottom line is it was supposed to help a child right when they're taken. So everybody's kind of on the lookout, especially when you have a vehicle or when you have description of a child. So everybody's got their head on a swivel and can help police identify. That's the whole reason that happened, right? So I found it very interesting that pretty much straight away, law enforcement put out an Amber Alert. And I thought that was important because everybody's head was on a swivel and nobody saw Sebastian Rogers at all, not hide nor hair of him. 4/2, glasses were found, and law enforcement specifically came out and said those are not him, not his. Okay, 4/2. April 2nd, we knew that. April 3rd was when TBI joined Sumner County. And they began looking, this is very interesting, on the search of the Long Hollow Pike area. I thought that was interesting. So again, you still have some search efforts going on, even on 4/3. But again, according to the timeline, it was made into an investigation on 3/4. But it tells me that they might have had information specifically pointing to that area. And we also know that they kind of recanvassed again, making sure they didn't miss anything. And that's something you always do, recanvassing.
Oh, thank you, Detroit City. Thank you so much. That's so nice of you. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I hope that everything goes as well as it could for that purpose, Detroit Rock City. I'll definitely keep you in my prayers, and thank you for subscribing. That means a lot to me. So guys, Jen goes over some of a timeline of events. So we know like the first 7 days of the investigation, well, excuse me, the search was the first 7 days, and then on 3/4 they scaled back the search, turned it into an investigation. Then we had the landfill search, and we all know there has to be a probable cause affidavit to get permission to search the landfill. So they had to have some kind of supporting evidence to be able to go and do that. And so on 4/3, there was another large scale search that occurred. And it, in my opinion, it had a lot to do with the Cajun Navy being there. That's just something that I kind of connected on, and it could be nothing. It could just be coincidental, but I kind of connected those dots just thinking, well, if the Cajun Navy was there and Craddock didn't want to get shown up, it seemed like he was very territorial over the case, didn't want a whole lot of help. He even came out to the public. I believe it was day 4. Yeah, day 4, they held a presser. And he was like, if you guys, I'm open to ideas. If you guys have any, then I'm open to help, getting any help that I can. But he said it in kind of, not really that he was wanting help, just kind of like, if you could do better, then let me see you do it, basically, is how I took that. And so I think that whenever the Cajun Navy was ramping up their searches, that's when their last large scale search ramped up. And like I said, the last time we heard from Craddock was, or the TBI publicly in a press conference format, would have been on April 2nd. So, there's that. Good night, couponing. Thank you so much for being here. Aw, hey Jude. Couponing, green hearts, green hearts. Oh gosh, I don't know why I just looked up at my. Whoa, boy. Aw, that's so sweet of you. Hey, Jude. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's go ahead and listen to number 11 here. This next clip.
I want to talk about the landfill search. 3738, I believe. The landfill search is red flag. It's bigger than the other red flags. Huge, big red flag. Okay. What do we know about this search? We know that the landfill in Kentucky was searched for a couple of days. We know that this was, and I just read up on this because this was very confusing, whether it was the construction trash or whether it was the trash from the residential trash. It was the residential trash, according to 2 of the reports I read. Law enforcement said they didn't find anything that was worthwhile. But as I pointed back at that time, if you look at the Quentin Simon case as an example, it takes weeks. And remember, they had a big pointer. They knew exactly where Quentin Simon's mom dumped Quentin in a dumpster, exactly when that dumpster was picked up, and exactly where that dumpster would have been dumped. And it still took weeks. So in this situation, they knew apparently exactly when the trash was picked up that morning, and they knew that it would have gone to this particular landfill. And again, I am strictly going on the reports and what law enforcement said, and that they didn't find anything of interest. They also said this was routine. Back when all that was said, and believe me, I'm pro law enforcement. I think they're doing everything they can. I'm hoping that they will get close to solving this. I'm hoping they're seeing the red flags that I think all of us are seeing, and that we're going to see some movement in this case. I'm hoping. But nevertheless, there is no such thing as a routine search of a landfill, period, end of story. Now, I posted the pictures when it happened, and you did not see people all lined up in hazmat suits. I didn't see the FBI's ERT team pulled in that are experienced and qualified better than anyone to conduct a landfill search, because not only do you have to search north and south, east and west, you have to search up to down. So even though you search, then you get rid of those layers, then you search, then you get rid of that layer, then you search, then and you go all the way down. It's unbelievable. So when you look at this, the other thing is they had to prepare a search warrant affidavit. That's where you swear to a judge. And by the way, the attorneys would have looked at it first, right? You write it out. Attorney's going to look it over, make sure that they believe there's probable cause there. And then you go before a judge and you swear that you think, in this case, indicia of a crime is there. Indicia of Sebastian Rogers is there, whether it's a body, whether it's cleanup, towels, whether it's bleach containers, whatever it might be. You're swearing that the reason you're going is because you believe it's there. Now, I want you to consider this. So that's the huge red flag. I want you to consider this. These trash trucks that were utilized in this particular neighborhood, from my understanding, are those trash bins, containers, just like are in my neighborhood, right? They come by, they pick them up, dump them, right? My understanding is on many of these, and my understanding is on this one, is that they had ELD, electronic log devices on them. Why would you even have that? Well, you have to have that, right? You want to prove that the trash company is doing their job, that they're picking up the items. And some of them are capable of weighing trash, right? So if you have too much trash in a particular bin, you could be charged possibly, right? Too much trash, it could mess up their equipment, and maybe they don't take it.
Okay, guys. So Jen goes into basically the trash truck and how things would work in terms of if the trash was a lot more full on a certain day or another. Also, she said that they have electronic log devices on the trash trucks. So I find that to be very interesting because, again, we could get a lot of information that way. And also, it speaks to the probable cause affidavit that would have come into play in order to search the landfill. So really good information there. Again, law enforcement knows a whole lot more than we would about it, but just purely speculating. They could gather a lot of information from that trash truck. Again, I don't understand why they wouldn't have been more forthcoming with Seth, but I'm sure they had their reasons for that. It just is unfortunate because I particularly wouldn't want to be in that situation, knowing that just knowing that law enforcement lied to me, I would be upset. So I think it just speaks to kind of how he was feeling before this, and why he was upset over it. So, um, and Kaika says, our trash trucks don't take it either if it's too heavy, 100 kilo limit. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, that was another thing. But I wonder if they would have left it there. Yeah, it's just strange. And then also, I remember Bobby saying there is an arm that picks the trash bin up. So I guess that would go back to the electronic log. So they have the information. I would be interested to see. I wish that she went into a little bit more detail on that. But that might be something that she doesn't have knowledge of also. And that's just something that law enforcement is keeping, because I do think it's significant. I definitely do. And then we'll go ahead and watch this next clip. And yes, we're on.
I know in our neighborhood, we definitely have certain things can't go in those trash bins, like paint containers. They can't be too heavy. They want everything in a plastic bag before it goes in the container, blah, 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 blah. My point is could that trash container have been unusual that helped them get to their probable cause? And this is what I mean by that. Could it have been heavier? If your trash normally weighs, let's just say 35 pounds, all your discarded items. But now you pick up and it weighs 135 pounds. We'll see. I'm trying to point out, so this is all I'm trying to point out there. This is something law enforcement is looking at. This would be the first thing I would look at. We know the trash was picked up that day. I would be calling J.E. McGarity, and I would make sure I understood when they're picking up. I would ask if they had that advanced equipment to tell me how much containers weigh, and I would want to know this. I have not seen, and I've seen it buzzing around, I have not seen anything from law enforcement saying that this company said that any containers from Sebastian's house were too empty. I'm going to make that clear. I'm saying that law enforcement looked into that. I'm very sure. And I'm also thinking that that could have been one nugget in the probable cause affidavit that could have led to them having probable cause. Okay. I want to make sure I get through all of this. I want to talk about the neighbor. Okay. I posted on this very early because a neighbor came out and talked about how Sebastian Rogers was treated. God bless that neighbor. Nosy neighbors help solve more crimes than you can imagine. And if they don't help solve them, they help prove them. So now I'm kind of turning a little bit to motive. Okay. I'm turning a little bit to motive. Why in the world would Katie and Chris Proudfoot not want Sebastian? First of all, he had very serious issues in terms of his autism. Okay? Why do I say that? They had a 15-year-old in diapers, people. They had him in diapers, going to school in diapers. That's a fact. Katie says that. I listened to her. She said, yes, I would put him in diapers because he wet his bed and he would have accidents at school. what I'm trying to say here is that's challenging for some people. Some parents are amazing when they have challenged kids. They have the patience of a saint. They work with counselors, they work with services, they figure out the best way to try to curb situations like that are happening, bedwetting incidents where they can't control their bladder. They work on all that. I'm not seeing that here. I understand. I understand because I have a brother who has cerebral palsy. I'm not going to get into a lot of everything about him. He's amazing. But he potty trained late. I mean, that was one of the first ways that we knew there were issues.
I'm going to do exactly what I have always been doing. You send that to me,
Okay,
we're
well,
going to review it, and then we're going to send it to
I'm
law
going to interrupt you,
enforcement.
Chris.
Let law enforcement go that route,
The
and then when law
spokesperson
enforcement comes,
speak for us doesn't
Hold on.
need to be on your property.
Hold
see,
on,
this
Chris.
is
Chris, hold on one second. Hold on. Seth, what did you say?
I said the person to be our spokesman to speak for all three of us doesn't need to be on your property.
Okay,
But yeah,
you're
you
correct.
have
You
spoken
are very correct.
to him
I have spoken to him,
when
and I'm going to make this public. I am back working, and I have work hours. I also have to sleep, and unfortunately, I'm on the opposite schedule of you. So respect that.
I heard y'all giving away them T-shirts. What's that boy's name? Sebastian. Well, how you gonna get one of them shirts out? I mean, what do you got to do? There's a little boy missing. It's sad story. It's sad them kids go missing. The worst part is, I heard that story where people talking about the parents and stuff. It's real bad. I don't know. They got no what do they call evidence on that boy yet?
No, they don't have any evidence on him yet.
Well, unfortunately, this actually may or may not. I don't know yet. May be the last interview I probably can go do. I don't know yet. I'm not gonna say no, but I will probably go dark for a while just because one, I got some more personal business coming up. That yeah, I mean, I don't know. You sit in the crane, you get bored. You sit on a construction site, you get bored.
I will do what I
When did
can,
you speak
as
with
I
him,
can,
Chris?
when I can.
I'm sorry, Seth, go ahead.
When did you speak with him, Chris?
What has that got to do with finding Sebastian? What has that got to do with finding Sebastian?
If he's going to be our spokesperson, I was just asking when you spoke with him.
I haven't come up with an answer yet. We've spoke with him. We told him we'll get back with him after we've done some consideration and talking with law enforcement. We'll get back to him, and we'll let him know our decision.
So,
I know you're on board with that. I do. I mean, I know you're 1,000% on board with Mr. Mathis. I got that. I'm not taking that away from you.
So Chris, I understand like every marriage is different and husband-wife aspect. You seem very protective of Katie and her having conversations with or without you. But like I said before you came on, I do believe that Katie is the one who, and I'm not saying it's because she knows what happened to Sebastian, but she was the last person that was with him. And so she does hold the most information, at least up until the point that he went missing.
What information do you think she holds?
Well, I'm going to get to that.
Well, then do me a favor. Let's just get to it.
Okay.
Don't pour gravy on the mashed potatoes. Just serve the stuff up.
Chris, I'm really trying to be respectful, and this is a very
I am too. So please just get to it.
Okay.
No,
so
you're
we would
interrupting.
really love to hear from Katie about his body language that day.
Okay, guys. So I wanted to show you guys that because I know there's been a lot of talk and speculation about the fact that basically Chris was just trying to help, and he really wanted to work together with Seth, and he and Katie were just always about working with Seth. And obviously that's not the case, because that was an interview from back in April. It was after the vigil that they had to come to this conclusion and that sort of thing. So basically, I mean, it's just one of those things where I really feel like it's smoke and mirrors or gaslighting, even though we know and we've seen it a bunch of times over and over and over again. I mean, that was a clip from one of my old videos. Um, but I just wanted to kind of demonstrate that, because you can't change history. Like, if it happened, it happened. You could always say you're sorry and try to work towards a common goal after the fact. But to go back and say like, oh, they always wanted to work together with Seth, that's a bunch of baloney, in my opinion. And let me see what you guys have to say here. Detroit Rock City, that's so sweet. And okay. Scranton says, and if they knew when the trash was picked up, why is it the issue of the trash truck lights even a thing? They say it went through at 3 a.m. and it should have been easy enough to know if there's an electronic. Yeah, the electronic record of exactly when it was picked up. Absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, they know all of this, and so it's really hard to believe, and I don't know why they made it an issue of the trash truck. I don't know why they called it that, because obviously, and if you're able to look at it long enough and kind of think about it long enough, you know that the trash truck lights aren't going to be moving around as if they're separate entities either. You know what I mean? So that's a really great point, Scranton Stringler. And Minnie says, I remember, forgive me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it said that the weight of the trash was heavier due to extra water weight? Yes, Minnie, I did hear that. I heard that there was a heavier trash load than what they were used to. And so I just think that it's one of those things where even if the arm picked it up, they could have told that, because they do like to charge you more. I do remember that part of putting the like a trash bin out. And so yeah, definitely. I think that that was one of the reasons why they were thinking that something was off. And that's just my opinion. And Hey Jude says, I've heard different things about the trash, the dumpsters, and the landfill search. I have too. I've heard a lot of different things, a lot of different scenarios, and basically kind of how it works. I mean, Bobby's lived there long enough to where I do value what she has to say, but then again, nothing is always set in stone. So, I mean, it could have been varying. But yeah, I've heard a lot of different things about it too. And then of course we have it was getting really confused in the beginning because we have the dumpsters that are in the second phase that's being built. And so people were speculating on that too. So it kind of muddied the waters a lot, I think. Oh, good, Lisa. Welcome back. Welcome back. Oh, Lori says, look. Aw. Minnie, your puppy's asleep. Aw. So cute. Your puppy is so cute. Thank you, Minnie, for listening. And Lisa says, mine still gets up and smiles at me funny. That's how I know she needs to go. Aw. Aw, Lori, that's so sweet. Minnie says puppy thinks she has to chew on some part of me at all times. Aw. Oh, thank you for dropping the link for Web Sleuths. Thank you. Thank you. I have to put them all in my description. I did not have time this evening to do any of that, so I apologize. I think I put Coffin Duffer's interview in, and that was the last one that I got to add in there. Um, Minnie says, "This was so disgusting when I heard it the first time." Yeah, I mean, it's, we know that they're not going to be looking for a live person in the landfill, unfortunately. That's the saddest thing about the whole landfill search. Another thing, I don't know if you guys remember this, but back then they were saying things like, basically, it was a precautionary reason why they were looking into the landfill. They did not come out and say we have evidence to lead that led us to going to the landfill. They never said that. They said it's all precautionary, nothing to see here. They were telling the news outlets that, and the news was reiterating it to us, so I know, Minnie. How do you get bored on a construction site? I mean, that's when he was doing the majority of these call-ins to the shows and things like that. You can hear like a crane in the back, or like the beeping, like beep, beep, beep in the back and stuff like that. I've never known, I mean, my dad's in construction, and like I remember him coming home dirty and worked hard and things like that. And so yeah, I don't know what Chris does at his job. I know that he liked to have blamed everybody but himself for losing his job, but in my opinion, if you're bored at work and you're not doing your job and you're on the phone and you're doing this and that, you're not focused, and that could get anybody fired. Yeah, Lisa, see, Lisa, good point. He got fired from that construction job, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, and rightfully so. It's like any other job. If you're not totally there and you're not paying attention, and especially operating heavy machinery, as he would call it, like that, I think that that is a really a tall tale sign that maybe you shouldn't be on the job, especially a job like that. You have to focus. And I've talked to other people in construction that have run cranes and things like that, and they say that he can get in big trouble by not focusing on his job up there because he's giving the commands and things like that. He needs to be able to um, you know, he needs to be available and clear-headed for that. And Minnie says, I hope the reason he got fired was because of the crank calls about his own stepson. Yeah, I mean, I would hope so too. I think that's like completely awful. And I know people were saying that they really didn't get a chance to hear that. So I found that little brief clip. But yeah, he's like saying things like, oh, you think the parents did it? And, Cleo was kind of smiling and stuff because she knew it was all set up. I mean, that's the thing about a lot of these channels and things like that. It's very hard to believe some of the things that are coming out. And that's why I am very hesitant to play something specifically from them without listening to it first, because I learned my lesson, for one, doing that. But also, um, it's it's a situation where a lot of this is all set up like smoke and mirrors, right? It's a show, it's entertainment purposes only, things like that. So when somebody can say something like that, which we all have to say, I mean, that's part of the YouTube verse, right? It's part of it, all part of it, but it can really muddy the waters in the same way. And people can put out misinformation like it's nothing and say that it was all for entertainment purposes, right? So, that was a perfect example for me of how a creator can basically take your trust and flip it around, and so you believe everything they say, and then the next thing you know, it was all set up. They had already talked on the phone. Chris had shown off his different voices and impersonations that he could do before all of this happened, before it was live, and then viewers are watching it live and thinking, oh yeah, Clue doesn't know who this is. This is just some dude calling in with a voice changer, and they're all speculating. And some people were like, yeah, it's Chris. And, everybody was speculating and things like that, which can be really fun and interesting. But taking it as face value and taking it as gospel is two completely different things, because as we can see, it was all for entertainment. They set it all up for this to happen, and then for them to like polish Chris up the whole time, and Katie, and tell them what great parents they are, and everything. The live was like yeah, really long. And I broke it down a couple of different times, so I'll link my videos too in the description for you guys, so you can go back and look at the comparisons that I've done and things like that, because it was a long process. Let's just put it that way. Lori says, such a jerk. Yes, yes. Nikki, the mullet card. You got the mullet card revoked. And Lisa Ann says, the attitude that morning. Yeah. Yeah, the attitude that morning. That was something that many people who spoke to people on his job site and kind of called and confirmed that. Terry Lynn was one of them. Silver's on the Scene also did it. There were several other people. Well, BHB did it. So several people went off and asked these questions of these people, and basically they didn't know that what it came down to, they didn't know that Sebastian was actually missing, that Chris was in a foul mood, and he left the job site between like 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. That day because of the foul mood that he was in. He was asked to leave the job. So, everything that we've been spoon-fed from the beginning with them has been lies. So it's so hard to really get a good read and decipher through all the muck and mud that they've put out there. And Minnie says, wasn't there a case a long while back where the wife tied up the husband in the bed and went ham on him with a baseball bat? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I do remember that case. I don't remember the names off the top of my head, but I know which case you're talking about. And Kaika says, Chris is so arrogant, it's sickening when he speaks. Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's really, really difficult to go back and even listen to these interviews, especially when they feel very, very comfortable speaking with certain people. That is the hardest for me, like when I'm going back and listening to them. I don't know about you guys, but it's just like one of those things where he's so much more cocky because he feels so, he feels so much more comfortable doing it. So, yeah, Lisa says he got fired at 11 a.m. Yeah. Yeah, they told him, they're like, you need to leave. And that's when he took the trip back and was coming through Nashville, he said about 1 o'clock. So let's see, 12, 1, 3.5 hours. He's going to be making it home around the time that he said he would, leaving the job at that time. So absolutely. And then he says, that's on my mind for a reason. I think I know why. Lori says, okay, I'm going to take off my contacts and are drying out. Oh, okay. Yes. Good night, Lori. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Lori. You have sweet dreams. And Ginger Girl says, hey, Ginger Girl, how are you doing? And Ginger Girl says, in the recording of Chris yelling at Heather after this, you can hear KP say that she talks to SF. Then Chris refers to SF as a friend. So SF has been working with the Proudfoots before Tony. Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that happening. I know that when SF came into the picture, they were denying that they were working together, so it's very unclear how long they could have been denying it for and working behind the scenes with him. And then also, I don't know when exactly he came into the picture, but it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. And nails on a chalkboard. Forever Nikki's mom says, Kaika, yes, it's very sickening. His voice is like nails on a chalkboard, in my opinion. Yeah, they totally are. It's one of those things where, it's nerve-wracking. And then also to have people like making a big fool out of just the whole entire investigation. And instead of searching for the facts and presenting the facts and talking about it, it's more entertaining for them to, I don't know, befriend the people that might have hurt Sebastian. I don't know. To me, there's no amount of clicks or views that I would ever want, or people like that in my chat, or any of that kind of stuff. I just kind of steer clear of that type of behavior. And Hey Jude says, Ginger Girl, that's interesting. I need to listen again. Yeah. It is super interesting. I need to just listen to it, period. And Minnie, aw. Yeah, I don't believe a word SF says either, Lisa. I don't find him to be credible, and then especially in this case, he's really shown his ass several times, several times. We're all not going to, none of us is going to get it right 100% of the time. If we say that we are, then we're lying to you. But in the same way, I really feel like some people are interested in facts and some people are interested in getting out information as fast as they possibly can and then speculating it to death. So, I mean, it's one way to do it. It's not that you're not going to find answers. I mean, it's one way to do it. But in the same way, I just rather kind of keep it kind of reined into what we do know, what we can prove, what we have receipts for. Um, but yeah, it's going to keep getting more interesting as I think it was at night. It was either Nick or Dog. Someone said Dog, I think. The more desperate the situation, the more desperate these people are getting, especially the ones that are involved, the more we're going to see shenanigans, right? Like, look over here, not look over here. So to me, I don't want to give him any weight, right? Lisa, you're absolutely right. I don't want to give him any credibility, any more weight than he already has gotten, because he's not credible in my opinion. I don't want to see anybody's piss test, piss cup. I don't want to see that. I don't. To me, that is not cute, and it's not becoming. There's no place for it in Sebastian's case whatsoever. And I mean, you're not going to hear me talking about it over here, besides just to say that I don't want to see it, and I don't care. I hope somebody doesn't hurt themselves, because I've seen people lose their life to that, and I don't want to see them hurt, or strung out, or see their children have to go through what happens when people are addicted to hardcore rugs. I don't want to see that. I don't wish bad on anybody. I wish good for everybody, and I don't want to speculate, and I definitely don't want to talk about other people's addiction problems, or things that are going to completely ruin their whole entire life. To me, I would rather pray for them and hope for the best for them than to speculate on any of that negative, nasty stuff. And Ginger Girl says, "Hey Jude, listen carefully to KP in the background when she is talking about bringing up her childhood." Yeah, that's horrible. And Susan doesn't find him credible either. Ginger Girl says, "Hey Jude, yes," and says how old she was, and SF told her something. KP cuts her off and says a friend told him. Yeah, I have no idea what you guys are talking about. I'm sorry. No, I don't trust a lot of people. Lot Lizards, Minnie, Hey Jude, Star Lambert, Lot Lizards. Minnie, you're always funny though. That's why we love you. Yes, yes, Hey Jude, the Lot Lizards emojis are for Terry Lynn. Yes. I need to find a shit show supervisor hat to put on that lizard. That's the only thing. I've not seen the way the emojis come out, so I don't know what they look like actually. It just shows me like the code for the emoji. It doesn't actually show me the emoji. Good night, Susan. Thank you for being here. Autumn says, "Okay, folks, it's been good, but I got to get some beauty sleep." Oh, do I ever understand that? I do need to get myself actually to sleep also. I have some really interesting videos that I'm going to be working on. Another creator I do want to mention in tonight's live. She is a newer creator to my knowledge. She has been in the chat, and she was in here the other night when we were talking with Jana, Crystal's sister, and she is doing a series as well to help the family out. And she's going to deep dive, it sounds like, from her trailer that she presented tonight. So her name is Vapor. Please go over there if you have a chance and watch the trailer. It is not long. It is very well put together, and it is helping get Crystal's story out there. So I am elated about that. I think that she did a phenomenal job, and I would love if you guys would go over and support her. I do not know of any other videos or content that she has presented. I personally just subscribed to her today. But if anything, if you want to watch a really good trailer and someone that you can consider subscribing to, definitely go check out Vapor, Vapor. And we are going to get into what happened to Crystal. I'm going to do some videos. I'm going to be working on those tomorrow. So Monday Night Raw with Lady Freedom. You guys saw my John Cena in. Hopefully you guys were able to see Rambo and Proudfoot. And just kind of comparison, a little bit of a comparison. But I'm going to be working on that and pushing out some great videos about Crystal's case. There are so many twists and turns in this case, and even some to the degree of being similar to Sebastian's case, only this time we're talking about DV and how it affects people and things like that. But what I really want to deep dive into is the police corruption element in that case. There was a 7-minute interview. 7 minutes. And I'm sorry, guys. Let me go ahead. I gotta find this highlighted for Autumn. Give me one moment because I gotta. Oh, there we go. I'm so behind on the chat tonight. Okay, so there was a 7-minute long interview that I played on the live with Jana. If you want to hear Crystal's story from her family member, please go watch the live. I've tried to drive a lot of traffic over there, but it's very well worth listening to. After Crystal was found passed away in her own bed, in my opinion, unalived in her own bed, the police interviewed her husband, and it was only 7 minutes long before they ruled her unaliving to be self-inflicted. I don't believe that that is the case. I believe that there was foul play involved in this, and I've been working very closely with Jana on this. It is something that is very important to me because these types of things happen all of the time, and we don't hear about them because somebody sweeps it under the rug. And I'm here to tell you that whoever decided, and I know who they are and they know who they are, but whoever decided to sweep this under the rug, they were sadly mistaken. They were sadly mistaken because it's about to blow up in their faces. 2 years. We're coming up on 2 years. February 9th, 2023 is when this transpired. And now we are moving into the 2-year mark. And I'm here to tell you, nobody's ready to back down. And if you go watch Vapor, you will see that she is just as passionate and fired up as I am. And so I think they had better look out. I have also asked for help from other creators. So I'm really hoping that they will help and at least share some of the content. I'm really hoping that that happens. But either way, it's the lid's gonna be blown off of this case, and people are gonna be able to decide for themselves based on the facts and based on the evidence that was shared with me from Jana, Crystal's sister. And so it's going to be very interesting and informative. The kind of format that I'm going to go with, it's going to be a little bit different than what you're used to seeing from me, because as I said a long time ago when I started the Sebastian Rogers case, this is a different way of covering a case. And the reason being is because of all the ridiculousness from Chris Proudfoot and Katie Proudfoot. We do not have that in this case. We have cold, hard facts and evidence that I'm going to present to you. And I want you to make up your own opinions and your own minds on this content that I'm going to present to you. It is bone chilling. And I feel very, very strongly about it, because I don't want to see one more woman lose her life and be blamed for doing so. So with that being said, I hope that you will look out for these videos. I'm going to work on those, and then we're going to do Monday Night Raw with Lady Freedom. We are going to dive into some more aspects of the Sebastian Rogers case. There are things that I work on in the background. That's the reason why I'm not always able to jump on the first person that's talking about this issue or that issue or this recording or that recording, is because I'm working behind the scenes on very, very diligently on these two cases, focusing all of my time and energy on them. And so with that being said, I do want to deep dive into some more of Jen's interview, but I'm also going to do some mashups like I usually do in my videos and present them to you that way. So it's just going to take a little bit of time. I will be working on that Sunday, and then Monday we will go live again, 10 p.m. I hope to see you all here. I appreciate every single one of you guys being in here, and thank you so much to my mods for dropping links. And yeah, Vapor is great. Vapor is great. Star says, Jana is the best sister. If anything suspicious ever happened to me, I would want Jana fighting for my justice. Absolutely. Absolutely. And as I said before, Jana reminds me of my little sister. I am older, obviously, by 7 years. And when I went through my DV journey, my sister was there all the time helping me. She was there to vouch for me. She was there to lend me money for lawyers. My sister did every single thing she could to protect me, and she's my little sister. And that's exactly what Jana is doing. She has been tirelessly looking for coverage for her sister, for people to take the case on. And I think we have finally found a really good group of people to do that. And I'm very excited about it. But also it's just that love, you know what I mean? That's so important. And so it's oh, thank you, Hey Jude. It's very important. And then also I want to reiterate, oh, thank you, Forever Nikki's mom. Thank you, Margaret. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there. The reason why I'm so passionate about it, but then also looking at the case, I think that you're going to find that this case needs justice. This case needs exposure, and all of that. And so, you know, definitely go and check out. Thank you. Hey, Jude. Good night, Margaret. Good night. God bless you too. Yeah. Lisa, I'm exhausted. Me too. Today's been a heck of a day. Oh, thank you, Star. That's so sweet of you. Thank you, guys. Thank you for everyone who gifted memberships today. Thank you for everyone that was in here. I really, really appreciate all of you. And like I said, I'm working hard behind the scenes. I'm just pulled in a couple of different directions, but it's all good. It's all positive. And if you were gifted the membership from Star, please make sure you say thank you to her. And yes, if you all ever have anything, like if I say something in a live or anywhere, a video or anything, and you want to show me something different, or if you have like an opinion or something like that, just drop me an email. I do check my emails. You know, it's a struggle sometimes, but always, you know, drop in the subject line what the email is about. Sometimes if I scan through really quick, if I see something that catches my eye, I will go ahead and click on it really quick. And that doesn't have anything to do with how important you guys are to me. It's just that I don't have a whole lot of time. And I'm really trying hard to dedicate um, certain amount of time over to Crystal's case because it's a newer case for me. Sebastian's case, I know Sebastian's case really, really well. But Crystal's case, I'm just still getting into um, some of the questions that I initially will have when I'm looking at a new case, or especially one where I'm deep diving into a lot of different aspects, paperwork, times, dates, um, the way bullet has to go through, where it comes out. It's very foreign to me, some of it, especially because I'm a great shot, but you want me to tell you what kind of gun that I've ever shot? I shot a shotgun. I shot a pistol. Like, I cannot tell you if it was a Ruger or a Smith and Wesson. I can't tell you any of that stuff. So those little pieces of information, I'm trying to kind of get in there and, you know, research through that. And you know, it just takes time, and that's what I want, is to dedicate enough time to this to where I can present it in a way to you all that you can make the best informed decision. And you know, hopefully we can find some more answers. I think that you guys are super, super smart and intuitive. And I think that, well, I think, and I know that a lot of you are survivors yourselves. And so when it comes to that, that just makes us more savvy, I believe. It makes us stronger. And I think it makes us more empathetic. And and then we also know these little nuances and these little subtle hints of ABUSE, and so we're able to identify them faster than someone who's never been through it, or who has never experienced or seen anything in their family from it and things like that. And so I think that we're going to be able to help so many people. And I also want to shout out to you, to the men out there. If you are going through this, please know that you're not alone. Please know that I do know that it happens to you as well. I just focus more so on women's health and safety because I'm a woman, and that's who I like to champion. I like to champion other women. Um, it's very important to me. It's very important. I don't look at other women as competition. I look at them as someone who I want to lift up. Unfortunately, there are people out there that don't think that way. That's okay. That is totally fine. However, I really, 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 really hope that you go over to see Vapor, because I think that her series that she is working on is going to be phenomenal. Okay, guys. So that's bye, Kaika. Good to see all of you guys. Carrie, nice to see you. Thank you all again for being in here, and then just look forward to some more videos by me, and I'm going to work on something special for Monday night for our Sebastian, and hopefully something will break in this case and we can talk about that on Monday night and not about drama, P tests, who said what, all of that, because really it doesn't make it's not important to me. Thank you guys so much. Thank you all, everybody that gifted memberships. I appreciate you greatly. You all have a great night. I will see you next time.